I don't know why, it just makes me chuckle when I hear David Moyes talking about XGs. It's not your bag, David. You know, focus on your strengths, which is making a team incredibly tough to beat, which he has always done all of his career, and maybe let attacking coaches come in and take care of the XGs.
He's probably like me, a certain generation. I think XG's the size of your shirt that you wear when you go into TK Maxx. Do you know what I mean? So, but it has improved.
Extra Groves.
Yeah, loving what you did there. Yeah, so the XG, you know, the chances created has improved. It couldn't have got any worse than under Sean Dyche, to be fair, because they couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo. So it has improved. He's sort of released the hounds, where he's let players just express themselves a little bit more. But the reason he could do that is, as he said there, because he had a back four and a set-up defensively, what has been obviously implemented at first by Sean Dyche, that he just had to carry on. Today we've got Michael Keane come back in, and you have to be a very, very good footballer, elite footballer, to play not only professional football but in the Premier League. But Michael Keane always worries me, because he always seems like he's got a mistake. And I've said before, he reminds me of a baby reindeer on roller skates sometimes, where he's always that last player, you know, where he's always trying to get back that sort of goal side. So, and I don't think it's any coincidence, since Jared Branthwaite has come back in, they've looked a lot more composed. Another big decision with him, because he's too good to play for a team that's in the lower echelons of the...
Worth a bit as well.
Exactly, and he gives you that bit of balance on that left-hand side, obviously being left-footed. Yeah, so I don't think that's really been Everton's problem. Going forward, they're two top scorers in the Premier League, and Jai and Beto with 7 Premier League goals. So they need to address that situation. They need a centre-forward like a lot of Premier League clubs do.
The fireworks have gone off. The atmosphere is ratcheted up a good few notches, and the players are making their way out onto the field. This is match day 36 of a 38-game season. Fulham pushing and pushing to get into Europe, up against Everton today. Enjoy this next hour and a half in the company of Perry and our match commentator, Joe Shannon. Thank you, Chris, and good afternoon to you from a very sunny Craven Cottage. And isn't it just great being on the banks of the Thames on days like this? So much character and history at this ground, but plenty of end-of-season focus, certainly for Fulham. European football is still possible, as is a club record points tally in the Premier League. Everton can be tough opposition, especially away from home, it would seem, under David Moyes. There's a feeling, though, that they're already looking forward to next season, with a new home to move into, and of course the last ever game at Goodison Park to come next week. The fireworks go off again, and plumes of flame, as if we need any more warmth and heat here on this lovely London day. And the players have made their way from the sunlit Craven Cottage, by the old cottage itself, across the pitch to the halfway line, and they're now being presented to the Riverside stand crowd. There aren't noticeable gaps in that Riverside stand, empty seats. At least we still have a few minutes up until kick-off, but perfect conditions, Perry Groves, on a day where Fulham, if they are going to get European football, really need to win.
Yeah, very much so. So you've got 3 games to go to now to the end of the season. They've got Brentford away, Man City here at home on the last game. So they need 9 points to get themselves in, hopefully in the 9th position, that will hopefully get them into Europe next season. And Marco Silva today will want Fulham to be on the front foot. This is what he'll be saying. It's all about energy. You can feel the energy in Craven Cottage, because the Fulham fans still have some jeopardy in their season. They'll be disappointed, obviously, going out of the FA Cup to Crystal Palace, where they didn't really perform part of the first 20 minutes. But there's still all to play for, and they can get their record amount of points in a Premier League season.
You have the unusual situation today where both goalkeepers are the team captains, Bernd Leno and Jordan Pickford. So the coin toss is about to take place. There's some pre-match presentations underway as well, as we wait for the game to kick off here live on Talksport 2 in brilliant sunshine. I'll bring you the team news again. Fulham, Leno in goal, Tete, Anderson, Bassi and Sessegnon, Berger and Pereira, Wilson, Smith-Rowe and Iwobi behind Raul Jimenez up front. On the Fulham bench, Bender, Kearney, Traore, Vinicius, Cuenca, Willian, King, Diop and Godot. For Everton, Pickford is in goal, Young, Keane, Branthwaite and Mikolenko, Gay and Garner, Harrison, Doucouré and Alcaraz behind Beto up front. And the Everton subs, Virginia, Patterson, McNeil, Calvert-Lewin and Jai, Chamiti, Armando Broja back up against the team he was on loan at last season, Seamus Coleman and Tim Irogbenan. David Moyes watches on from his position in the dugout on the opposite side to us, the river side of the ground, and Perry Groves, he will still feel from Everton's perspective that there's a lot to play for, and you saw him watching the team intently in the warm-up, making his focus clear. Their mind should not be on their summer holidays yet.
Very much so. You've got to be professional, sort of about your own personal responsibilities. Just going back to two goalkeepers being captains.
Yeah.
Right. I've never ever got that. I've never got it.
In your career, ever?
No, yeah, never in the career, but also, so if you're Jordan Pickford, you're going to say, because you're so far away from actual general play, Michael, can you tell James, who's playing with him, can you tell him to stop giving the ball out midfield or stay with his runner? Honestly, goalkeepers being captain is a nonsense.
Well, they both are today, Leno and Pickford, and Everton will get the game off and underway. You couldn't imagine a more picturesque setting in the early summer, late spring sunshine. Everton will get us underway from left to right in the first half towards the Hammersmith end of the ground in their blue and white, and Fulham in white and black, playing from right to left towards the Putney end of the stadium. Sander Berger clears upfield to Raul Jimenez as Everton went long straight away. Ashley Young is there to shepherd it back to goalkeeper Jordan Pickford on a massive weekend of football as ever across the Talksport network, and whatever happens today, you'll be able to have your say from 5:30 over on Talksport on the Game Day phone in with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. 03717 223344, and at 8 o'clock here on Talksport 2, Notts County against Wimbledon is our League 2 playoff semi-final first leg commentary. Of course, all of the playoffs live across the Talksport network.
Joe, just got to say, are we watching the NFL? Because when it went back to Jordan Pickford, that was a Hail Mary, wasn't it? He smashed it like probably 50 foot up in the air straight into Fulham's box. In the end, it was good defending from Anderson to clear the danger.
And Marco Silva watching from a seated position in the stand as Fulham come from right to left to the near side, and Sessegnon, who has started at left back in the absence of the injured Anthony Robinson, as we suspected. 0-0 on Talksport 2. Smith Rowe edge of the area, lays it off to Pereira, wriggles through the middle to find Smith Rowe again. The angle's against him, he plays it Iwobi, who digs in the cross. Fulham want handball after a deflection, hammered up into the air by Michael Keane. Not convincing defending from Everton initially, and twinkle-toes from Andreas Pereira, but he couldn't quite set up a teammate in the shape of Smith Rowe to get a clear shot in at goal. Sessegnon looking to raid down the left-hand side. Out to play it goes. Everton throw. Fulham 0, Everton 0. 90 seconds gone. Here's Perry Groves.
Yeah, Smith Rowe couldn't get the ball from underneath his feet. It was good link-up play on the left-hand side with Alex Iwobi. Just rolled it into Smith Rowe. Got his turn on. Could have got his shot away. But just looking, just with Fulham, they look very composed in possession on this left-hand side. Harrison got back to double up, didn't even go and engage the ball. So you've got to go and close down Alex Iwobi.
Forward comes Alcaraz for Everton, darting down the middle. Anderson gets a foot in. Calvin Bassey, his centre defensive colleague, comes across from the dead ball line and sweeps it out to play for an Everton throw. At the start of the day then, the gap between Fulham in 11th and Bournemouth, who don't play until later on at 5:30, is only 2 points. Bournemouth in 8th. So it really is still on here potentially for Fulham in terms of Europe, Perry, especially of course if Manchester City beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, very much so. Say it's going to be in their hands because they play Brentford as well, you know. So just got a long throw from James Garner.
High into the box, headed away by Anderson, only as far as Branthwaite, who tries to spin and turn and shoot left-footed, and he does, and it's turned away at the near post. I think Anderson was in the way again there. In the end, it's a Fulham throw in the left-back position on the near side of the field in front of the Johnny Haynes stand, which Chris mentioned earlier, the great history of this stand. It's actually a listed building, lots of pillars in the way. You feel like you're walking up to more a museum than a football ground, and it is a thing of beauty, and we're only about 10-15 rows from the edge of the pitch, so the atmosphere here is terrific as ever.
Yeah, very much so. It's an old-fashioned, you said, football ground. It's not a stadium, It's a ground, which is completely different. I actually warms the cockles of hearts when you've got the pillars in front of you, because obviously you have to have a little shift to the left, a little shift to the right when the ball goes into the 18-yard box, and then you've got the infinity pool stand opposite us.
The riverside on the far side, where there are gaps, there are empty seats today. Not everybody's prepared to pay those prices. On the halfway line is Sessegnon for Fulham. Back to Calvin Bassey midway inside his own half, and he'll roll the ball to the feet of Bernd Leno, all in green. The entire field of play pretty much drenched in sunshine. 0-0 in the 4th minute. Sander Berge races over the halfway line, and he's tripped by the retreating Decore, back in the Everton squad this week, just forward of the centre circle. It's a free kick and it's 0-0.
Yeah, just looking there when Everton are not quite in sync at the moment when they're out of possession, because they're going to close down. Decore goes alongside Beto, them two go and close down. Berger was stood in between them, and then when they look behind them, Gay and Garner were a good 30-40 yards, so there's a big gap in between the forwards and the midfield.
Iwobi against his old club sets up Smith Rowe to swing in across. Wilson at the back post brings it down and shoots left-footed. It's blocked. Comes out to Berger. Now Wilson from the edge of the area rifles it goalwards, and he can hit them, but it's straight down the throat of Jordan Pickford. Good pace to the Fulham attacks early on here, but it is still 0-0.
Yeah, Emma Smith Rowe getting himself to the byline left-hand side, needs to really dink it up to the far post. It's a good clearance from Gaining, comes out to Wilson as his first shot gets blocked, runs back to him again, gets it onto his left foot, straight down the barrel of Jordan Pickford, who actually pats it down and collects it the second attempt.
Most of his 5 Premier League goals this season have come off the bench. Harry Wilson, a starting role today. Kenny Tete hooks the ball long for Fulham down the right-hand side, and there's a really good energy to the game in its early exchanges, and the crowd of both sets of supporters, and of course Everton, always travel well. Close to 3,000 away fans on their feet behind the goal to the left-hand side at the Putney end. It's a terrific late-season atmosphere here ahead of Everton's last ever game at Goodison, and next weekend against Southampton after 133 years. Things are going to change.
Très émotionnel.
It's going to feel like a very different club, isn't it, Perry? Headed by Sessegnon downfield for Fulham, but he was all over the back of Ashley Young, and that's as obvious a free kick as you're likely to see. Earlier in our League One playoff commentary, first leg, it finished Leyton Orient 2, Stockport County 2 in a thriller. The second leg is live next Wednesday on Talksport 2, but all of the playoff games are live with us, and the best thing to do at this stage of the season is download the free Talksport app. You can swipe between all our stations at your leisure and watch live shows as well. Jack Harrison down the Everton right, hooks it across to the back post, a good delivery. Leno stayed on his line, and Tete tucks it out to play for an Everton throw on the far side.
That's brilliant play from Jordan Pickford. His delivery, obviously the ball at his feet, he's just pinged it out to Harrison on this right hand side, gets his cross in. Alcaraz needs to be coming in from the left hand side and make the second centre forward, which he doesn't, and in the end it just goes high and wide and over to Everton's left hand side, where they can actually regain possession.
Everton fans in full voice at the moment. Their team attacking at the opposite end of the pitch. Mikolenko's cross cannons off Tete, and that caught him hard. He's gone down and stayed down, and the referee, Michael Salisbury, has come across to stop the game. 0-0.
There's a bit of tete-a-tete, I think, there for Kenny Tete. He's taken it full in the face, and to be fair, Darren England, the referee, quite rightly just stops the game, obviously, for head injuries. But I think, lucky enough, rather than hit him in the face, I think he's actually hit him in the forehead. So it's just a little bit of shock.
Well, I did talk about empty seats. In fairness, a lot of the Fulham fans are arriving late here into the ground, where you're packed nice and close to the edge of the pitch. And Kenny Tete is back on his feet after taking that whack. And Fulham will have possession again in their right back position. Fulham 0, Everton 0 on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games, available with no contract on now, like Bournemouth against Aston Villa live today. Search Now Sports. Goalless in the Premier League at every ground so far this afternoon in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Ipswich, Brentford, Southampton, Manchester City, Wolves against Brighton, and Fulham 0, Everton 0 here. Bournemouth against Villa is at 5:30. We'll have updates into the game day phone in over on Talksport later. Fulham with Iwobi again up against his old team, finds Smith Rowe on the halfway line, and the two former Arsenal players combine. Now here's Calvin Bassey on the edge of the penalty area. The Everton fans making a terrific noise behind the goal.
Obviously they can enjoy themselves from now to end of the season. No jeopardy at all. Just looking at Everton out of possession, I mentioned before when Sander Berge got himself on the ball, Decore is the one who picks him up now when Fulham are in possession.
Fulham have given it away, and Decore looks to pick out Beto, slow to react, sandwiched in between two white shirts, wants the free kick. Referee says no, you're never going to get that, get up, get on with it. And Andreas Pereira picks out Raul Jimenez in the centre circle. Back to the tall, rangy Sander Berge, who sprays it wide to the near side, the left, and Sessegnon, who's enjoying his second spell at Fulham. Iwobi back to the halfway line, and Bassey, who's been a regular alongside Anderson in central defence. 1-2 between Bassey and Smith Rowe. 0-0. Bassi floats the high ball forward on the diagonal. It's hopeful. Raul Jimenez trying to reach it. Branthwaite let it run across his body. In the end, it's dealt with by Mikalenko, who scoops it long into the bright afternoon sky. Doucouré in the centre circle, back to Gay. He's blocked off by Anderson. Fulham have it back with Kenny Tete. European football could still be on the agenda at Craven Cottage this season, but Fulham, you feel, really need all 3 points today with only 3 games to go. At the moment, they're the outsiders, really. Sliding in his Bassi at the lip of the centre circle, and Smith Rowe tackling with Harrison and winning it back. Wide left is Iwobi, ready to take on Ashley Young in a one-on-one. Iwobi waits for the run of Sessegnon and then shoots low, and it's straight at Pickford again, having scampered in field. Sessegnon took 2 Everton players with him with the decoy run, but Iwobi might be a bit more disappointed that he couldn't get more power behind the shot.
That's the first time that Ryan Sessegnon has gone on the outside of Alex Iwobi. When he had the ball before Iwobi, Smith Rowe and Sessegnon made the same run in the inside left position. Actually thinking when he got that little bit of space, he could have tried to bend it in Jordan Pickford's bottom left-hand corner. They're on the attack again here, Fulham, with Pereira. Now Wilson on the edge of the D in a tight area, works it wide to Tete, far side of the field. Corner of the penalty area, in swinging cross, jumping to head clear is Key, all on his own. Back to Sessegnon, who's got time to deliver left-footed, but that's really poor. Overhit and floated, and behind and away for a goal kick. They've been inconsistent, Fulham, haven't they, of late, Terry? They've picked up some useful victories late on at Southampton. They beat Liverpool here, of course, before Liverpool were crowned champions, but it is 6 defeats in 10 in the Premier League, and that could really be costly for those European aspirations. Yeah, well, they only lost 6 in the first 25 at the beginning of the season. You said they just had a little wobble. I think they struggled with a few injuries where, the squad depth isn't that big. I'm just looking at today, they've got in the wide areas a few times, and the crosses in have just been hopeful crosses, like one from Kenny Tete, just thought, right, I'll feed it in. Then it obviously came back out to Ryan Sessegnon. So there's not any purpose on the crosses. If you're going to cross the ball, you've got to make sure that you whip it in, and then you make Michael Keane and Jared Branthwaite and Jordan Pickford then have to make a decision, where it's been quite easy because both crosses were just in front of them. 0-0 the score. In the early stages on Talksport 2, we played 11 minutes. Everton win it back with Alcaraz, and now Beto back to the halfway line, and Doucouré, long sleeve blue shirt on, pass towards the left-hand side as well, retrieved by Harry Wilson, the former Liverpool man. Andres Pereira brings it down. Doucouré makes a half tackle. Tete then skips beyond him. The Dutchman sends the ball flying over halfway. Raul Jimenez was never likely to reach that, and it's all the way through to Everton and goalkeeper Pickford again. So Fulham, remember, if they were to win with scores as they are, at least anyway, very early stages in the day, they'd move up to 8th in the Premier League table, and that could well be a European spot at the end of the season. But a win is what they need. Trip to Brentford to come in a West London derby, and then here against Manchester City on the last day of the campaign. Forward by Harrison for Everton towards Beto, who held it up well. Had a lot of praise from David Moyes this week and wins a free kick on halfway. Well, just looking at both teams, just coming up to just over 12 minutes played, both teams have been very sloppy in possession, been giving the ball away when they haven't been under pressure. Doucouré in the centre circle, yet just to roll it out to Mikalenko, gave the ball away unnecessarily. Fulham have given it away a couple of times on this sort of left-hand side, so there you can't get any sort of passing rhythm. And Everton have it now with Michael Keane making his first start of David Moyes' second spell at the club, his first Premier League start since November the 2nd. Keane belts the ball long crossfield on the diagonal. That's a lovely pass, and well brought down by Mikalenko. Such a deft touch on the edge of the penalty area. Back now to James Garner, who delivers right-footed to the back post. Harrison underneath it, heads it across, and Bassi got there brilliantly just before either Beto or Doucouré could do so for Everton. A useful touch from Calvin Bassi. Fulham will clear, and it's 0-0. I think actually Harrison might have been able to bring that down because it's a brilliant move from Everton. Switched it from right to left. Brilliant searching ball from Michael Keane out to Mikalenko on that left-hand side. Rolled it back into Garner. Garner with his right foot just picks out Harrison on the far post. And as I said, I think he had more time, so he could have brought it down. He just tried to head it back across. In the end, it was cleared by Ryan Sessegnon, but that was the best move of the game so far, and a brilliant crossfield ball from Michael Keane. Sessegnon is going to take the Fulham throw in the left-back position, and Raul Jimenez hooks the ball hopefully downfield. It's bounced into the path of Wilson. Inside right channel, taking on Mikalenko. Onto that favoured left foot, low ball across to Iwobi. On the other edge of the penalty area, curls the shot goalwards. It was always going to be blocked back by Ashley Young, who's far too experienced to dive in that situation.
Fulham have got it back though with Iwobi again, having a great season. Alex Iwobi, best scoring season of his career, 9 goals. Iwobi with Sessegnon square, Sessegnon infield to the feet of Bassi midway into the Everton half. Everton have got everybody back behind the ball, and Bassi's now at walking pace. Goalless on Talksport 2. Berger driving down the middle and accelerating into the penalty area. A couple of slide challenges come in. The second was from Gay, who was sent sprawling by Berger, and that's a free kick to Everton inside their own penalty area. Just not quite clicking for Marco Silva's Fulham yet.
It was actually a good play from Beto, because he made sure that he tracked the run of Sander Berg up, getting himself into the 18-yard box. And as Berger got away from him, he said there, he's just a Gay, just making sure that he tracked his fellow midfielder. And in the end, Berger, a little bit frustrated, pushed him over. Quite rightly, Darren England, the referee, gave a free kick.
Marco Silva is watching on, as I say, from the elevated position in the Riverside stand as he serves a touchline ban today. Abdoulaye Doucouré can't keep the ball in for Everton, and of course, as Fulham win the throw in their left-back spot, he's up against his old team, Marco Silva, today as well, amid links this week with Saudi Arabia and Al Hilal.
Well, I think Marco Silva floating up and down the infinity pool on his inflatable is going a bit strong, don't you? I think he'd take it a bit more seriously.
He's just getting occasional updates on his phone, isn't he? Or he might be listening to us on Talksport 2. He has got headphones in. I presume that's to communicate with
the
bench.
He just waved to us. Yeah, he must be listening.
I knew it. Well, Bassi goes back to Bernd Leno, the goalkeeper, a mainstay, of course, in the Fulham side. Started all of the Premier League games since joining the club from Arsenal in 2022. Heavy touch by Raul Jimenez on the halfway line, though it was fizzed at him by Calvin Bassi, and Jimenez has done well to knock it backwards, and Fulham are able to keep possession. Bassi, the number 3, and only under token pressure midway inside his own half. Now Doucouré in Everton blue does step forward. Early ball up the inside left by Sessegnon, and Michael Keane gets there in front of Iwobi, and Everton retain possession again. 0-0, and we've played 16 minutes. It was the final day of the WSL season earlier too. Congratulations to the champions Chelsea, who've gone an entire season unbeaten. Beat Liverpool 1-0. Arsenal beat Man United 4-3 in the race for second spot. Manchester United finished third. It was a big win for Man City too, 5-2 over Crystal Palace, who've been relegated. Sessegnon on the halfway line for Fulham. Squared in field to Sander Berger. We'll have Euro 2025, by the way, with the Lionesses live on the Talksport network this summer. Berger on halfway turns away from Doucouré easily and nudges it wide to the right-hand side, and Raul Jimenez, who's drifting everywhere at the moment, Perry Groves.
Yeah, I'm looking at Fulham as well. I thought that Pereira might play a little bit, further in front of Sander Berger, which is actually happening. So at the moment, Fulham are playing with 2 10s, obviously with Emil Smith-Rowe, but they can't get the ball.
Great touch, Smith-Rowe to the dead ball line, and he takes in the cross, and Raul Jimenez is there to head it in. All about the delivery from Emil Smith-Rowe, asking Raul Jimenez to attack it, and my how he did, with a thumping header beyond Jordan Pickford, who had absolutely no chance. That's a big moment in Fulham's European push. Fulham 1, Everton 0.
Well, it's nearly the commentator's curse, Joe, because I was just about to say that they haven't been able to get the ball into Emil Smith-Rowe in that 10 position. This time he's in the inside left, gets himself into the 18-yard box. The closer you get to the touchline, it means you have to dink the ball up, exactly what Smith-Rowe does. Comes from Sander Berger, out to Sessegnon, great little ball into Emil Smith-Rowe, gets himself away from Ghana, then just stands the ball up in the middle of the 6-yard box. Jimenez, like all good centre forwards, right in the middle of the post, then just times his jump absolutely perfectly, gets himself above Jared Bramthwaite, gives Jordan Pickford absolutely no chance, low down to his right hand side. Brilliantly crafted goal from Fulham's point of view. Every player made the right decision at the right time when they were in possession.
And that thumping header was into the very back of the net before Pickford could even react to it. For Raul Jimenez, his 13th goal of the season, his first since March the 8th, and that's really got the Fulham crowd going. They're packed around us here in the Johnny Haynes stand, and Fulham lead Everton by a 0-0. What a ball from Smith-Rowe, and you just want to see a player like that on the pitch with all the injury issues that he's had, and he's featured in most of the Premier League games this season.
Yeah, well, what's happened there was, as well, is the right pass from Ryan Sessegnon. It was the right fed in on the edge of the 18-yard box. Smith Rowe then it's the right cross. Jimenez is great because he pulls to the far post at first. He gets himself onto Mikalenko. Mikalenko then can't see Jimenez because he's coming in from behind him. So then as he times his jump, he gets above Mikalenko, knocks him into Branthwaite. Fantastic header. Just put the ball back where it came from. Gave Pickford no chance. Just a high quality goal from Fulham's point of view.
So Fulham in that race for 8th place, if you can call it that, lead the way at the moment. It'd be 54 points and they'd be a point clear of Brentford, Bournemouth and Brighton. In fact, Brentford, I think, have just scored away at Ipswich in the Premier League. They have Kevin Schade. Ipswich already relegated 0, Brentford 1, so that would drop Fulham back down to 9th. And of course the two sides meet next week. Here come Fulham on the attack. Wilson infield towards Iwobi, sliding into clear is Branthwaite for Everton. Raul Jimenez is down on his knees and he gets up to his feet. Fulham keep possession anyway in and around the centre circle, and they have it back. They're doing all they can anyway, leading Everton by a goal to 0.
Well, you can tell at the moment, coming up to 20 minutes played, that the game means more to Fulham than what it does to Everton, because every little 50-50, every knockdown, every 1v1 battle, Fulham are winning at the moment, and Fulham are a lot more precise and a lot sharper in possession.
So it's Brentford on 55 points, Fulham on 54, Bournemouth and Brighton both on 53. Bournemouth don't play until 5:30. Wolves 0, Brighton 0 is the latest score. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1 in the Premier League, and Fulham are in front here live on Talksport 2 against Everton thanks to Raul Jimenez. And it's 1-0 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, making a big move or planning a clear out with vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, they've got a van. Neat interplay by Fulham on the left again, and Iwobi fizzed in the cross. It hit the on-rushing Sessegnon and flew behind, and that'll be a goal kick to Everton, who have only won 8 Premier League games all season.
Well, again, it's that little link-up play on this left-hand side from Ryan Sessegnon into Emil Smith-Rowe in the inside left position. Gage just let him run off him. Then it comes back out to Iwobi. He said he's just trying to then roll it back into Smith-Rowe. Then gets a little block from his own player and then goes off for a goal kick for Everton.
Talking of the race for Europe, an enormous game in the race for Champions League football on Talksport tomorrow at noon. Newcastle against Chelsea live and exclusive. Everton come forward here 1-0 down. Harrison's in the right back position, tries an early ball in left-footed, high to the back post. Here comes Leno, headed away by Anderson in front of the goalkeeper before he could punch it clear. And now Wilson's nicked it off the toe of Alcaraz, and Fulham can stream forward from right to left on the counter. They do slow the game down. Iwobi will pop it back to Bassi. Marco Silva didn't show much of a reaction, Perry, sitting in the stands when that goal went in, but how will he feel about the opening 22 minutes with his team in front?
He'll be pleased. He'll be pleased with the way that they're zipping the ball around.
Just like Berger's found Iwobi, and now Wilson with a left-footed shot, curls it just beyond the far post. That was swinging just away from goal, a little too early there from Harry Wilson. First time left-footed from the edge of the penalty area, but Pickford's not happy with his defenders. It's only narrowly wide
because no one's coming to close the ball down. Comes out to Alex Iwobi on the left-hand side from Sander Berger. He just rolls it into Wilson, and he can hit it first time with his left foot. He's trying to give Jordan Pickford the eyes, where he's going to cross Jordan Pickford. Unfortunately, Fulham it went a yard wide, but he had, at the edge of the 18-yard box, Harry Wilson, he had 4 yards of space. And Jordan Pickford, quite rightly, is saying to his centre-halves and his two midfield players, you've got to go and close the ball down.
This is more like the Fulham that we saw in the first half against Liverpool here a few weeks ago. It's just been an inconsistent last few weeks for them. They followed that Liverpool win up with a defeat at Bournemouth, then the late defeat at home to Chelsea, one late at Southampton before losing to Villa. Everton win the ball back on the halfway line. Alcaraz through the middle to Harrison, who took it well and shoots low, and it's gathered by Leno inside the penalty area. Harrison kept that too close to the goalkeeper from a very promising position on the edge of the box.
Yeah, Harrison says, I've got my mind set on you on the edge of that 18-yard box. Just gets it onto his left foot. He's trying to bend it in Bernd Leno's right-hand post. And if you're going to do that, you've got to make sure you start the ball about a yard and a half outside that right-hand post, then so it comes in the end, easy save for Bernd Leno.
Did he have enough precious time there, Perry? He probably did, didn't he, really? There was some precious time for him, and he should do better. Doesn't score many, Harrison. Fulham 1, Everton 0. Header away by Keane. Iwobi 25 yards out, wriggles towards the left, and a very confident, almost showboating flick from Iwobi to put it into the path of Smith Rowe is about 5 yards square. Midway through the first half, and Fulham are 1-0 in front. Forward by Sessegnon, floated up to Smith Rowe, who's already set up one goal today. Level with the edge of the penalty area, very cultured, elegant player. Smith Rowe back to Sessegnon, and now Anderson in the centre circle. A real purpose about Fulham so far this afternoon, as they look to keep their aspirations of European football alive. 3 games in the Premier League season to go, including today, and all of the important action will be live on the Talksport network. Tete meanders in field, pops it back to Bassi just forward of the centre circle. Everton sitting very deep at the moment, defending the edge of their own penalty area. Raul Jimenez, the goal scorer, number 7, back to Sessegnon in a deeper line position, and now Bassi on the halfway line again. And Fulham are content to keep the ball without forcing the issue at this point.
Yeah, well, what happens is Everton just go back into like a 4-4-1-1 formation. They leave Beto up front, Doucouré just off of him. But it's sort of half-hearted closing down, isn't it? There's no intensity in Everton, going and trying to win the ball back. So Fulham have just probably strung about 25 passes together, with an Everton player getting nowhere near them.
Harry Wilson tried an ambitious crossfield ball from the halfway line. It's gone back to Pickford, all in bright pink, short sleeve shirt via the touch of Ashley Young, and it's certainly t-shirt weather here today. Not just European football that Fulham are thinking about, of course, but also the possibility of setting a club record points tally in the Premier League, which would be a sizable achievement. If they win today, they'll do just that. They'll move on to 54 points above the 53 that was set in 08-09 when Roy Hodgson was the manager. Pickford's got nowhere to go, the Everton goalkeeper, but for a simple ball forward to Gay. Back to Pickford again, and Everton look very static at the moment, Perry.
Well, the thing is, what's happened, obviously, Fulham are closing down. Everton have got 4 players up front. They've got Doucouré and Beto in the middle, with Harrison on this right-hand side and Alcaraz on the left-hand side. So Jordan Pickford's got to make his mind up quicker that he goes long, because then you've got a 4v4 situation.
Here is Harrison in the right back position for Everton, and he's almost sandwiched in between 2 white shirts. Sessegnon and Iwobi sliding in. It's one back by James Garner in the middle of midfield, and Everton have possession, comfortable possession with the tall centre-half Branthwaite, as for once the sun dips behind the clouds and all of a sudden it's a bit breezy here in West London. Now it's coming back out again, and not a lot happening on the pitch at the moment at all, Perry. Fulham lead it 1-0 live on Talksport 2, and they're not having to do a great deal to hold on to that lead.
No, because at the moment there's no threatening behind, and just as I said, that Harrison just tried to pick out Beto, who's got himself in between Tete and Anderson.
Cleared away by goalkeeper Leno, only as far as Mikalenko, who goes crossfield left to right. Doucouré plucks it out of the air, but with his back to goal, steers the ball on the angle wide right to Harrison, all left foot, gets to the dead ball line, and his attempt at a cross is blocked off by Ryan Sessegnon. Quite easily, really. Well read, though, that by Leno. He was outside his penalty area nice and quickly.
Good starting position from Bernd Leno. Just looking at Fulham's point of view, they've been very, very good on this left-hand side with Sessegnon and Iwobi and Emma Smith Rowe. On the other side for Fulham, probably want to get Pryor into the game a little bit more. He's playing as the second number 10 on that right-hand side. They need a bit more productivity from the right, from Fulham's point of view.
3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1 is the latest score. Southampton 0, Manchester City 0, Wolves 0, Brighton 0, and Fulham lead Everton by a goal to 0 here. So Fulham up to 9th from 11th in the Premier League. Brentford a point above them, and the 2 teams meet next week.
Well, that'll be Brentford if they do beat Ipswich, their 4th win on the trot in the Premier League. Best run in the top flight since 1939 when they won 5.
What a job Thomas Frank continues to do, as well as has done. It's a constant. As Pickford comes out to collect a long ball to the right edge of his penalty area, there's a bit of verbals with Ashley Young, a disagreement between the two.
I think Ashley Young's just saying to Jordan Pickford, can you give me better communication a lot quicker, because he didn't know who was coming in behind, and there was nobody there, so he just needs a shout of assurance from Jordan Pickford just to tell him to calm down.
And it's comfortable for Fulham at the moment, leading by a goal to 0. For the latest odds, you can head to William Hill, the official betting partner of our Premier League coverage on Talksport 2. Right now, Fulham win at 1-3 as Wilson slides in on Mikalenko, and Everton will get the corner out of that. The draw is 4-1. Everton 17-2 to come back and win. That's all thanks to William Hill. 18+, gambleaware.org. And so for Everton, the first corner that they have forced in the game so far, and Ashley Young will trot across to take it in front of the Hammersmith end.
Well, Michael King keeps delivering the ball to somewhere only he knows, from the middle of the pitch out onto the left-hand side. He's hit 3 raking passes into Mikalenko. This time, a good touch on Mikalenko. Just tries to get it past Kenny Tete. Gets a little touch, corner for Everton on their left-hand side.
Breitner in front at Wolves. Danny Welbeck has given them the lead by a goal to 0. The corner's taken short. It'll come back out to Ashley Young to deliver high to the back post, and it's overhit and behind for a goal kick. Poor delivery from Ashley Young. So yes, Wolves 0, Brighton 1. Danny Welbeck from the penalty spot, and that edges Fulham down another place, back down to 10th in the Premier League. But there's nothing between the teams really. Brentford 8th on goal difference ahead of Brighton. Fulham a point behind those two, and Bournemouth a point further behind, though they don't play until later on. And of course Aston Villa need the points when they travel to the South Coast. Villa still within a shout of Champions League football next season. So the race for Europe, Perry, is really where it's at this stage of the campaign. In half an hour gone, Fulham 1-0 up.
I think there's a TV series in there somewhere, the race for Europe. It's got to be, isn't there?
Well, that's what's kept everybody intrigued, I think, in the Premier League, with the relegation battle already sorted and the league title confirmed for Liverpool now, and that's been a long time coming. But we've got all the playoffs live on the network, and we've got all the European finals to come as well, including Manchester United against Tottenham in the Europa League, the Champions League final, and Chelsea, of course, in the Conference League final as well. All those will be live on Talksport, as you'd expect. Throw to Everton in the right back position here.
I know that obviously Jordan Pickford is the captain, which I don't agree with at all, but he should take responsibility. He knows that his team's being closed down, and there's a 5v5 situation. If he bypasses Fulham's midfield and goes into Beto or into Doucouré, because they have the physicality to hold the ball up, or even one of the midfield players, if it's Gay or Young, and Garner says to Jordan Pickford, deliver the ball quicker into the forwards.
Good ball by Alcaraz out to Mikalenko, swings in the cross left-footed first time. He did brilliantly, the Ukrainian, to reach that at full pelt, a full sprint down that far side the left, and he has looked a threat of sorts for Everton so far, but now they've chipped the ball all the way back to Pickford, and it's not been a 31 minutes really to remember if you're an Everton fan. Fulham 1, Everton 0, and Bassey wins the ball back for Fulham on halfway. Celtic, the Scottish champions, 0. Hibs 1 is the latest score. Bassey will go back to Leno, and he'll roll a simple ball, the German goalkeeper, out to the right back position, and Kenny Tete. Fulham with Andreas Pereira just shy of halfway, tripped by Alcaraz, free kick.
But again, just looking at the closing down from Everton, as it goes out to Kenny Tete on that right hand side, he can roll it into Pereira. Gay, who's the next Everton player who should be closing down, he's a good 10 to 15 yards away from Pereira. So then Alcaraz then has to track back, then he just obviously nudges him over, gives a free kick away. That's because of the lackadaisy closing down from Everton's point of view.
It feels end of season from Everton, doesn't it? As Doucouré does charge forward over the halfway line. Only Beto is ahead of him. Beto forward of the centre circle, but he can't hold it up. He's giving it away to Sessegnon while under pressure. Fulham maybe can counter here. Sessegnon did burst forward on the underlap of Iwobi. Back he goes to Smith Rowe. Now Sander Berger on the halfway line. Ran into trouble, blocked off by Beto and retrieved by Doucouré. Now Garner back to Doucouré in the centre circle, and out on the left in front of the two dugouts is Mikalenko again, right in front of David Moyes, who's got quite a stern glare on his face in a dark jumper and dark trousers, watching Everton come forward on the opposite side, our side of the field now, with Harrison down the right. Again, Sessegnon wins that individual battle, steers the ball back in field to Sander Berger. It's like Anthony Robinson's playing anyway, the efficiency with which Sessegnon has started the game.
Yeah, well, Fulham have dominated this left-hand side. You said the link-up, we know, with Sessegnon, not just defensively, but with the ball, obviously had his part to play in Fulham's goal, rolling it into Emil Smith Rowe. So they've been very, very strong, very dominant down this left-hand side. But the game's just taken a little bit of a lull.
Well, it certainly has from an Everton perspective, and even for Fulham, the urgency has gone out of the crowd with 12 minutes of the first half remaining, plus added time. Fulham are 1-0 up, and St Mirren are 1-0 up away at Dundee United. So Dundee United 0, as St Mirren 1 is the latest score. It finished Leyton Orient 2, Stockport County 2 in the playoff first leg earlier today on Talksport 2. We've got more League Two playoffs first leg action for you tonight. Of course, Orient Stockport in League One, Notts County against Wimbledon live tonight at 8, and every playoff game is live on the network, including Chesterfield against Walsall and Wickham against Charlton tomorrow. And then we got the start of the second legs from Monday with Sheffield United against Bristol City on Talksport. It'll take something special for Bristol City to come back from a 3-0 deficit. Raining down the Fulham left is Sessegnon, playing it back to Iwobi, and now Anderson on the halfway line. They're very comfortable here, Fulham, even at only 1-0 up.
Yeah, because Everton's closing down, they've just dropped back into that defensive shape, leaving better up front on their own. So Sander Berger's getting himself on the ball. The centre halves of Fulham, Bassey and Anderson, have been under no pressure whatsoever.
Iwobi is 25 yards out, and he's flicked a high ball way over the head of Pereira, who's managed to retrieve it out on that right touchline. Loads of time to cross towards Raul Jimenez, headed away, down to Iwobi, miscontrolled it initially, but he still held up the play initially in front of Decore before being robbed by James Garner. Now Everton may be on the break with Decore, but he's quickly lost out to a combination of Berger and Sessegnon. Everton looks slow and ponderous and plodding, and Fulham are quicker to all the important balls. Pereira with a looping long-range shot under no pressure whatsoever, and that's miles over the bar.
It was a really poor effort from Andreas Pereira, but I'm just looking at Jordan Pickford. His head is nearly exploding. There was a film called Scanners in the 70s where it was a horror film where people's heads were exploding. That looks like Jordan Pickford, because he knows that there's not enough urgency from Everton to go and close the ball down. And say they're winning all their 50-50s, but it was a really good defensive header from Jared Braithwaite when the ball come in from Pereira from that right-hand side. Jimenez was lurking again in the middle of the 18-yard box. Good defensive header from Jared Braithwaite.
St Johnstone 1, Ross County 0 is the latest score. That's a must-win realistically for St Johnstone in their fight against relegation. They lead second from bottom, Ross County. Kilmarnock 1, Dundee 0, and Hearts 1, Motherwell 0 elsewhere in Scotland. As Anderson floats a high ball up the inside left towards Raul Jimenez, who looked for a moment like he might evade Michael Keane. Defender got enough on it to clear. Calvin Bass is going to come across, and the ball is out of play for an Everton throw just inside Fulham territory on the near side, the right. Lots of people in their replica shirts and sun hats today. It's warm, it's sunny, and there's no excuse for Everton though. Nothing particularly energy sapping about the warmth. They just don't look at it, and Idrissa Gueye giving it away. Fulham of course with more to play for. Tete's hooked the ball downfield up to Raul Jimenez again. Braithwaite's headed that away, and now he's gone down. Is this yet another concerning moment for an Everton defender in terms of potential injury? Braithwaite went down hurt in that challenge. Raul Jimenez is on his feet, and I think Braithwaite is going to need the physio on.
Yeah, just as the ball just drops out of the air, Jimenez tries to back into Jared Braithwaite. I think he just catches him on his left knee. I don't think it's a twist, so the physio won't come on, because if he does come on, then Braithwaite has to go off, doesn't he, for 30 seconds before he's allowed back on again. So just gather himself, he'll be okay. But it's a strange one with Everton, because we know obviously, you know, they've got, in inverted commas, nothing to play for, but there's very few games in your professional career when you're playing when there's no pressure. So you would think that on the other side of it, on the positive side, but as long as your attitude is right and you're putting everything in, that you're going to be able to express yourself a lot more, because you haven't got to worry about making mistakes. But here, you just got a very sort of end of season feel about it from Everton's point of view, and I think that Marco Silva will be a bit disappointed after the first 20-25 minutes that his team have dropped off a level.
And Fulham have settled down as well, but Everton have given it away with Braithwaite back on his feet, and now he's got to face the run of Raul Jimenez, who's darting to the edge of the penalty area, slips it into Wilson, tries to place the shot, comes out to Jimenez, and now Iwobi on the edge of the box. He's curled that over the top from a good position, and he rolls his white shirt over his face in a bit of frustration there. Alex Iwobi, he tried to place it into the top corner, wasn't that far away, but he couldn't hit the target, and it stood only 1-0 to Fulham.
Just sloppy play again from Everton's point of view. Idrissa Gueye giving the ball away to Mikalenko, and then Jimenez then gets the ball in that inside right position. Actually, Braithwaite does really well initially, because he makes sure he doesn't go and commit himself, then he just retreats, just managed to hold up the attack, comes out to Alex Iwobi, gets it onto his right foot, and he's trying to bend it into Jordan Pickford's top left-hand corner. Goes high and wide, but now the physios are on. to treat Jarrad Branthwaite.
It's a concerning moment for Everton, with James Tarkowski, of course, set to miss the rest of the season. Jake O'Brien not in the squad today, we're told that's injury related. And will they have to substitute Branthwaite here? Perhaps. He's got 2 physios on, being treated in the 6-yard box. Lots of Fulham fans taking the opportunity to head for the concourse areas here as we reach nearly the 39th minute. Fulham 1, Everton 0, Ipswich 0, Brentford 1. Still Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. Southampton, who still need a point to edge above Derby's record low tally of 11. Southampton on 11 at the moment. And Wolves 0, Brighton 1. In Scotland, Hearts 1, Motherwell 0, Kilmarnock 1, Dundee 0, St Johnstone 1, Ross County 0, Celtic 0, Hibs 1, Dundee United 0, St Mirren 1. And of course, Adrian Durham's taking you around the grounds around the country right now over on Talksport. Here's the former Arsenal winger Perry Groves.
Yeah, just looking at Jarrad Branthwaite, I looked at first, I thought it was just like a little coming together with Jimenez and Branthwaite, but it just looks like he's just gone down on his left ankle. So obviously he'll make his way over to the touchline. He's got the 2 physios either side of him. He's walking hesitantly. They'll probably be saying to him, well, just go on, give it, a minute or so, or maybe even try and get yourself into half time, and then we can assess it in more depth.
Everton, in terms of central defensive options, don't have many. Nathan Patterson and Seamus Coleman are nominally right backs, of course, so there's not a great deal left for David Moyes in that position. Branthwaite goes off, they're temporarily down to 10 men, and Pickford hammers the ball clear into the sunshine. Fulham 1, Everton 0. You're listening to Talksport 2. The flick down the middle by Decore. Harrison reaches in on the edge of the box, spins, turns, looks to poke it towards Beto. He couldn't get there. Hacked away only as far as Alcaraz. And Alcaraz tried to shuffle it forward to Harrison, but he was outmuscled by the much bigger, the much taller Sander Berge. Now Calvin Bassey's on the charge over halfway. Everton still haven't been able to get Branthwaite back on just yet. They're still temporarily down to 10. Beto up the inside right. He's half wriggled away from Anderson, and then Sessegnon made a slightly risky challenge right on the edge of the penalty area. It goes out of play for an Everton throw close to the corner flag, and now Branthwaite is back on with 4 minutes of the first half to go.
Going to come out to James Garner, where the long throw will be hurled into the 18-yard box, and they're very en vogue at the moment, Joe, aren't they, long throws?
We've seen them in the Champions League, we've seen them in the playoffs, we've seen them in the Premier League.
Semenyo, obviously for Bournemouth against Arsenal, and then obviously Thomas Partey.
Long throw from Garner into the penalty area towards the near post for Everton, and a towering header away by Joachim Andersen at the expense of Everton's second corner. And Fulham have got to be careful here. They've got a measure of real control about the game, but they don't want to sleepwalk into conceding an equaliser, Perry.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, Everton's second corner, the first one they took it short, and in the end it was Ashley Young who just overhit it to the far post. This time it would be Jack Harrison swinging it in with his left foot.
On the right-hand side as we look at it, here it comes, floated high to the back post. Keane is underneath it, nods it down, and that's one bounce and gathered by Bernd Leno, who looked to set an early counter-attack away. He's belted the ball downfield. It's way too long for Wilson and Iwobi, who were not really up with play anyway, and through towards Jordan Pickford. Not a first 42 minutes of great quality so far, I have to say.
No, I think it's because Fulham have just dropped their levels from that first 25 minutes. Just looking at Bernd Leno there, the nearest player to him was Jimenez, who did brilliantly on the far post because he made sure that Michael Keane couldn't get a decent header. Then Bernd Leno's run to the 18-yard box, booted up the pitch, and then he thinks, oh no, actually Jimenez is just standing beside me. So again, it's just making the right decision at the right time, and now it should be game management for Fulham, trying to get themselves, make sure they get in at least 1-0 up at half-time.
Beto with his back to goal, and he's had it whipped off his toes by Pereira. The ball, I think, hit Anderson, and it spirals through to Leno again, and he's only had one save to make, and that was relatively straightforward from Jack Harrison's shot on the edge of the penalty area. Fulham 1, Everton 0. The disappointing news for Fulham is that both Brentford and Brighton are leading, so Fulham only move up a place into 10th in the Premier League as it stands in that mini race for a European spot. Raul Jimenez with a back heel to the corner of the box. Harry Wilson, the number 8, is there. Got Tete on the overlap. Wilson cuts in field instead. Shoots left-footed and turned behind by Pickford. That's a really good save from the goalkeeper. The ball was hit hard and low. Might have even taken a nick on its way towards goal. And Pickford there to turn it behind for a corner.
Yeah, really good play from Harry Wilson, picking the ball up on the right-hand side of the 18-yard box. Just cutting inside. Dublin was going to shoot, goes past Idrissa Gueye as if he's not there, gets himself into the D. I think it just takes a slight deflection off of James Garner, takes a bit of the pace off the ball. It's a really good save from Jordan Pickford, low down to his left-hand side, corner for Fulham, over on their right.
Right in front of the Everton fans. Pereira and Wilson standing over it. Harry Wilson loves to cut in field like that onto his left foot. He's not the most popular player in front of the Everton fans because of his Liverpool links, of course. 1-0 to Fulham, last minute of normal time at the end of the first half. Pereira with one arm up into the air, maybe that's some kind of signal. Will it be his right foot and out swinging, or will it be the left boot of Wilson in towards goal? It is fizzed into the near post and an easy header for Ashley Young, but he has headed it behind and Fulham will get a second chance.
Well, I don't think either are set-piece coaches of Fulham Everton we get any bonus today, Joe.
Not so far.
They've been very poor, the set pieces. Even there, Harry Wilson hitting the first man, Ashley Young at the near post. You've got to make sure, worst ways out, that you missed that first man.
How's the delivery this time? Wilson again, left-footed in swinging, better, headed away by Branthwaite though from the edge of the 6-yard box, nodded down by Pereira towards the right edge of the penalty area. Nice clearance up into the air from Doucouré, lands in the lower tier of the Riverside, and that somewhat sums it up for Everton really, as we prepare to see how much added time the fourth official is going to signal on that far side. 3 added minutes at the end of the first half here on Talksport 2. Our next Premier League commentary, remember, tomorrow lunchtime, noon kickoff for Newcastle against Chelsea. 4th against 5th in the Premier League. Haven't been many goals in the Premier League so far today. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1. Wolves 0, Brighton 1, and the one that Raul Jimenez has scored here for Fulham, it's still Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. And Chris will bring you confirmation of all the half-time scores at half-time as a fan heads the ball back into touch. That was a Raul Jimenez-esque header.
To be fair, that go down as actually giving possession away, because I think he could have actually brought it down on his chest, Joe.
And volleyed it.
Volleyed, exactly.
He knew what he wanted to do as it flew into the crowd. He was front row in the sun and he stood up and thumped it back into play with his head, and the crowd all around us love that. Doucouré for Everton looking for Beto down the middle, blocked off by Anderson. We're a minute into 3 added at the end of the first half. 1-0 to Fulham. Sessegnon retrieves the ball in the left back area, tangle of legs with Harrison, and the last touch was off the Everton man. That'll be a Fulham throw. Well, comfortable for a 1-0 lead, but you get the sense that Marco Silva will want a little more. They haven't had to do a great deal really, Fulham. That one moment of quality and that's enough. Calvin Bassey floats the ball long up to the halfway line, halfway through the added time in the first half now. Everton a goal down, Branthwaite in the centre circle. Branthwaite out to the left in front of David Moyes is Mikalenko, who hoists it long and high downfield up towards Beto. Bassey wins the header. And Pereira slides in, he's given it straight to Alcaraz. There's danger here, Alcaraz shoots, denied by the legs of Leno from a tight angle. Pereira had to be stronger and wasn't, and Alcaraz, well, it was a slightly tame shot which Leno was able to turn away.
Yeah, well, Alcaraz escapes from Pereira on that left-hand side, just gets the ball onto his right foot. I think he should look to bending it in Bernd Leno's left-hand post, where he's actually tried to go to near post. There's a really sharp save from Bernd Leno.
One more long throw for Everton in the last minute of added time, in by Garner, punched away by Leno, drops down to Doucouré inside the box. Wilson goes down, then Mikalenko with a low drive, deflected in, and Everton are level right at the end of the first half. Mikalenko is taking the credit. He drilled that left-footed, and it took a big deflection, perhaps off Doucouré, to leave Leno completely wrong-footed. It's a very sloppy end to the first half from Fulham, and Everton, who have barely threatened, have got themselves level with what might just about be the last kick of the first half. It's Fulham 1, Everton 1.
Well, we said that Fulham have got a little bit sloppy. It's a long throw from Garner initially. Bernd Leno comes and punches the ball, comes to Decore, and he just rolls it out to Mikalenko. It looks like it's Pereira who's gone to close Mikalenko down, gets it onto his left foot, gets a good shot away. Massive deflection, gives Bernd Leno absolutely no chance whatsoever. Mikalenko actually looked a little bit embarrassed, Joe, didn't he, as he sort of peeled away once he scored. But they come against the run of play, hits Pereira's standing right foot, gives Bernd Leno absolutely no chance whatsoever. And Marco Silva, Fulham manager, would absolutely fuming because his team have dropped off for the last 15 minutes.
And that is the last action of the first half. I think Mikalenko will be credited with it. The ball was going on target when it took that deflection of Pereira, but it was certainly enough to beat Bernd Leno. And a frustrating first half for Fulham, much like their recent form, an inconsistency in the performance. Dominant first 20-25 minutes or so. Raul Jimenez gave them the lead with a great header after an equally beautiful ball flighted into the box with precision by Emil Smith-Rowe. Jordan Pickford then made a good save to deny Harry Wilson before Everton pinched an equaliser in first half stoppage time. Mikalenko's deflected strike makes the half-time score Fulham 1, Everton 1.
Well, I wouldn't want to be whoever's on the end of that constant call that Marco Silva is currently on. He's sitting up in the stands serving a suspension. His team had this half all sewn up. They were totally in control. Everton were flat. I had a bunch of notes ready to ask you about, did David Moyes know his team were going to be flat? We saw him watching them like a hawk, and ultimately a deflected goal, and we go into the break all square, Perry.
Well, we said it was about managing the game, you know, with that last sort of 10-15 minutes, and Fulham did drop off. And say Everton weren't aggressive in that first half. Fulham were very, very dominant for the first 20-25 minutes, went 1-0 up from goal from Jimenez, obviously we'll talk about in a minute. But what is on vogue at the moment, Chris? What's on vogue? Long throws.
Long throws.
The goal comes from a long throw.
Recycled out. Yep.
Exactly. James Garner throws it in from the left-hand side. Bernd Leno, the Fulham goalkeeper, comes to make a decision. Ain't a great punch because he should be punching it high and clear, and he actually punched it downwards. Decore recycles it, just rolls it out to Mikalenko. Then Pereira maybe should get a little bit quicker. He turns his back, hits his standing right foot, gives Bernd Leno absolutely no chance. And Everton get themselves back into a game which they were nowhere near for half an hour.
Nowhere near it for half an hour. A couple of half chances. Jack Harrison had a low shot from the edge. Easy save for Bernd Leno. Michael Keane had a tame header. And then there was a really late chance for Carlos Alcaraz that did force something of a save from Bernd Leno. But before that, there was absolutely nothing. Fulham were cruising, and their goal was something special. The first touch from Emil Smith-Rowe on the spin. Wonderful clip cross, and Raul Jimenez ending his goal drought.
Yeah, what they did, they all made the right decisions at the right time. And I said that on the left-hand side for Fulham, they've been completely dominant over Harrison and Young. And there was good little link-up play between Sessignon and Emil Smith-Rowe, getting himself in the 10 position inside left. And Sessignon just rolls the ball into Emil Smith-Rowe. It's exactly the right place. Smith-Rowe lets it run across his body, gets the ball to the byline. And you're taught the closer you get to the byline, then you have to stand it up. You have to miss the first man, exactly what he did. And to be fair to Jimenez, he does really well because he makes sure he gets himself on the blind side of Mikalenko at the far post, so Mikalenko can't see him. And then as the ball's just stood up, then Jimenez times his run to perfection, middle of the 6-yard box, climbs above Mikalenko, and then he sort of bumps into Branthwaite so he can't get off the floor. And it's a great headed technique from Jimenez, just putting the ball back across Jordan Pickford. Pickford gave him absolutely no chance whatsoever. And you have to say, at that time in the 17th minute, the goal was well deserved because Fulham were by far the better side.
It was like 10-pin bowling. He smashed those two defenders over, didn't he, Jimenez? He was so hungry for that one. He's had his long wait. I think it was the 8th of March, Joe was saying, hadn't scored for Fulham since. And there he is, bagging one in the Premier League for the first time in a while. We should give real credit to Jordan Pickford, who did make an excellent save down to his left at 1-0 from Harry Wilson. I think it was deflected, but it was creeping in.
Yep, I think it was Gay who got a slight deflection on it, and to be fair, it took a bit of the sting off the ball, but he changed the direction, and it was a really good save low down to his left-hand side, which obviously kept it at 1-0. And whilst it's 1-0, your team is always going to be in the game. And it was about, I said probably about 6 minutes before, it was about Fulham managing the game and getting themselves into half-time at 1-0 up, and they failed to do that. It was just lack of concentration, gave the ball away initially in their right-back area very sloppily, and then they was made to pay for it. And by the way, from Decore, that's not an assist. that's going to go down as assist just because he recycles it and then just rolls it back to Mikolenko. So that goes on his assist,
Well, it helps his negotiations for a new contract,
end of
perhaps.
season, exactly, yeah.
Numbers. Right. We're going to take a little break, but let me tell you about a nice moment here at Fulham for their women's team, who are currently doing a lap of appreciation. They won the league that they're in. Champions, it says on the big screen away to our left-hand side, and they are drinking in the adoration of the fans here to see their men's team in action at half-time here at Craven Cottage, though it's a half that Fulham have utterly dominated, but they go to the break 1-1.
Game day exclusive on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Watch the Premier League final day before the countdown begins to a huge new season, where Sky Sports have at least 215 live games, up from 128. Subscription required.
And what a season this has been for Village Hotels. They've got the quadruple. Stylish rooms, state-of-the-art gym, heated indoor pool, and the legendary Village Pub and Grill with its unbeatable lineup of food and drink. No wonder the fans are going wild for this champion of affordable breaks. Absolute class. Village Hotels, 33 winning locations across the UK, with everything under one roof. Book now at villagehotels.com.
The season is shaping up, and whether they're going for glory or going down, it's all to play for. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out Goals! With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals! And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League Two, it has to be goals! Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Watching the big game cozied up in the snug.
Another 7-0 win!
Balmy summer nights with the kids playing on the lawn.
We're playing real-life football!
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
The best seat in the house is no longer in the house. It's outside with the sound of birds chirping overhead. The best table isn't in the house either. Or pillow, or outdoor lighting, or sun lounger. But you knew that already. Visit IKEA online or in store to level up your outdoors this summer. IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
Screwfix Sprint delivers from store to door in as little as 20 minutes. You've finally found that perfect parking spot and you're ready to start work. But wait, you need a replacement part that's not in your van. Don't sweat it and don't move the van. Get moving on your job and we'll sprint over with exactly what you need before you can say, where's my spirit level? Screwfix Sprint delivers in as little as 20 minutes. Only $4.99 and only on the app. Conditions and geographical restrictions apply. Selected products.
The McSpicy Frank's Red Hot is back. It's the McSpicy, but hotter. With 100% chicken breast fillet, melty cheese, fiery jalapenos, and the irresistible Frank's Red Hot mayo. Make it hot. Available until the 17th of June. Served from 11 a.m. Participating restaurants only. Subject to availability.
Game day exclusive with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Rent from the best lineup in the UK. Enterprise has all the vehicles your business needs, with the flexibility to rent for minutes or months.
Hard-hitting football coverage.
Sunday afternoon, the Premier League live on Talksport.
They're back in front!
Newcastle versus Chelsea.
Coverage from 11, kick-off, 12 noon.
And that settles it!
Sunday afternoon on Talksport.
I don't believe it!
Don't scratch it, it'll make it worse. Game day is go.
Stimulate your senses with a heavy-duty payload of thrilling Premier League football.
They're back in front!
Game day exclusive
On Talksport 2.
To half-time at Craven Cottage, Fulham 1, Everton 1 against the run of play. Everton levelling up right before half-time. A couple of other games I've got my eye on. Dundee United know that if they beat St Mirren today, they will play in Europe next year. They were in the Scottish Championship last year. They are losing, though, 1-0 to St Mirren. And down the bottom in Scotland, St Johnstone need a win against Ross County, the team above them. It is 1-1 at half-time. That's the same score here as at Craven Cottage. Fulham took the lead, but Everton pegged them back. Elsewhere, Ipswich 0, Brentford 1, Southampton and Manchester City locked at 0-0. And Brighton are winning 1-0 away at Wolves. And what that means for the league table at the moment is Brentford are in 8th, Brighton 9th, and Fulham, conceding that goal, have drifted back to 11th. AFC Bournemouth play later on in a big old game impacting not just the race for Europe but the race for Champions League as well, at home against Aston Villa. Bournemouth could well start the day, Perry, in 11th, knowing that if they can bag a couple of wins from their last couple of games, they could get European football. Yeah, and they've got a very good record against teams that they start the day above them in the Premier League. They've won 7 out of 13, the 13, drawn 3 and lost 3, and it's the highest win rate of the teams in the top half of the table. So, and I was at the Emirates where they were excellent against Arsenal, where obviously Arsenal got done by long throw from Semenyo, and Evan Nilsson's in really good form. 5 goals, 1 assist his last 8 Premier League games. That's more than in his first 20 appearances in the Premier League, where he got 5 goals. Yeah, and Aston Villa, they're now on the outside looking in for top 5. Do you think they'll qualify? I've got a little sneaking suspicion. They've won the 7 of the last 9 in the Premier League. Before that, they only had 6 wins out of 21, so they're just coming into form at the right time. Got a really good win, obviously, against Fulham earlier on during the week, so they just got that little bit of momentum. Yeah, so Bournemouth against Aston Villa. We'll have updates from Charlotte Richardson down at the Vitality, or if you like old names, down at Dean Court. She'll be keeping us up to speed in the game day phone-in with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Don't forget, you can get your calls in, Fulham fans, Everton fans, 03717 223344. But that was our look ahead to this afternoon's Premier League action with Sky Sports. Don't forget, you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract now, like Bournemouth against Aston Villa, live today. Just search Now Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now, like Bournemouth versus Aston Villa, live today. Search Now Sports, 18 plus, stream via internet, terms apply.
This is the second of our 2 matches on game day here on Talksport 2. Earlier on, we brought you a barn burner from the League One playoff semi-final first leg. Leyton Orient drawing 2-2 with Stockport County. Now, Orient's opener was a little more than controversial. Charlie Kelman, he put them ahead. He was so offside, he was almost in a different postcode. Let's hear now from the Stockport manager, Dave Challoner. He was speaking to Talksport after the game.
He's 4 yards offside. And I get where you're coming from, because your job isn't on the line in the EFL, whereas other people's livelihoods are on the line.
So you would like to see VAR?
I'm not saying I'd like to see VAR. I think as a spectacle, it spoils it. There are loads and loads of subjective decisions and opinions in football, opinions on managers, players, what you see on the pitch, and whether one thing's a throw into one team or another team is subjective. I don't think the penalty that we've conceded is a penalty, whereas Leyton Orient probably do think is a penalty. They're subjective. That is like blatantly obvious.
Well, Dave Challoner absolutely furious about the goal that was clearly offside. But Perry Groves, you've rolled your eyes. Why is that?
Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't moan, because I'm glad Moose would say to him, well, do you want VAR? He doesn't want VAR. Nobody wants VAR because it's a joy sucker. So basically, as a manager, you suck it up because it's a human error, and it is a bad human error. Don't get me wrong, as you said there, even the shadow was offside, but that happens, and in a season you'll probably get decisions that are that wrong, probably 5 in a whole season. So Dave Challoner can't have it both ways, where he's moaning about the penalty, and then Moose brilliantly was going to say, well, do you want VAR? And he's like, no, I don't really. So you can't have it both ways, so don't moan it. Just say it was a really poor decision, but I thought my team reacted really well, to adversity. Don't go on about VAR when you know that you don't want it.
Yeah, and they did react really well. 1-0 down at half-time. They led 2-1. It is 2-2 going to Wednesday's second leg. 8 p.m. kickoff live on Talksport 2. The other of the playoff semi-finals is Wycombe against Charlton. That is tomorrow night, Talksport 2, 6:30. But for now, we switch our focus back to the Premier League. It is 1-1 between Fulham and Everton. Fulham have been sent out early. David Moyes perhaps still trying to wake up his Everton team. Enjoy the second half with Perry Groves and your match commentator Joe Shannon.
Well, I suppose they did wake up right at the end of the first half, but there was more than a little bit of good fortune about the Everton equaliser. From a Fulham perspective, though, Perry Groves, we know realistically if they are to make Europe, the outside chance they have, they've got to win. But for the last 15 minutes or so of that first half, it looked like they were on the beach.
They got sucked into the lethargy that Everton had shown for that first half an hour, and obviously with Brighton winning and Brentford winning at the moment, that's put them under even more pressure. I say, as a manager, Marco Silva, he's watching, in that really plush stand as opposite us, the new stand. He'll be watching that, and he would have known, he could have seen that his team had dropped off for that last 15 minutes of the first half, and he'd have been absolutely fuming. He's got his ear pods in where he's getting his message down to his coaching staff. Stuart Gray's in his coaching staff, an old teammate of mine at Southampton.
Yep.
He would have been saying to, obviously, Stuart to get the message across, but it's nothing like your manager being on the touchline. That's where I think they've missed Marco Silva, because I don't think they'd have dropped off that far if he'd have been on the touchline.
Well, he's up in the stands for the second half, and we're just about ready to go for the second 45 as well. David Moyes, Alan Irvine and Billy McKinley, two of his coaching staff, just making the way from the tunnel right by the cottage in one corner of the ground, and now they take their seats in the dugout. Fulham would be well off the pace in the race for 8th spot as it stands. 3 points with 2 games to go. Realistically, they've got to win in the second half, and they get the second half underway. Playing from left to right, still in the bright sunshine, white shirts, black shorts, white socks, and Everton in the royal blue shirts, white shorts and royal blue socks will play from right to left towards the Putney end that's split between home and away supporters. They're unchanged for the second half, so Fulham have got Leno in goal with Tete, Anderson, Bassi and Sessegnon the defenders. Berger holding in front of the back four. Harry Wilson out on the right, Iwobi out on the left, and Pereira and Smith Rowe in support of Raul Jimenez. Everton have it with Alcaraz, who's chipped the ball cross-field high to the right-hand side. Jack Harrison brings it down neatly in front of Ryan Sessegnon, dribbles to the corner of the penalty area. The left-footed cross is deflected, comes back out to Harrison, who gets it all wrong on his weaker side, and that's miles over the top. Everton with Pickford in goal, Young, Keane, Branthwaite, and the goal scorer of that slightly fortuitous equaliser, Mikolenko, right in the last minute of added time at the end of the first half. Gay and Garner holding, Harrison, Doucouré and Alcaraz behind Beto up front. It feels like the onus is on Fulham here in the second half, and Raul Jimenez has brought the ball down brilliantly on the edge of the D, gets away from a rather tentative challenge of Mikolenko, and now Wilson right corner of the penalty area. The ball laid out to the right is behind Raul Jimenez, but he still sets up Tete to deliver a booming cross that's way over hit to the back post. Smith Rowe won't reach it, Ashley Young will, and now Fulham's left back Sessegnon is way out of possession as Harrison tears forward into opposition territory onto Beto, little touch to the edge of the area. Alcaraz hits it first time left-footed, and Tete's in the way, and Sessegnon is only just getting back, and Fulham a little all over the place there. Fulham 1, Everton 1, 2 minutes into the second half, and here's Perry Grove.
Yeah, it was a really good counter-attack from Everton. As you said, first down that right-hand side where Sessegnon just found himself completely out of position, then worked it over to left-hand side, come out to Alcaraz, and he got it onto his left foot, and to be fair, really good closing down from Kenny Tete, made sure that he got himself to the ball, got his block in, and then negated the danger.
Lots of Fulham fans still making their way back to their seats early in the second half.
One of them's Ryan Sessegnon, I think, from that first 30 seconds.
It's a very warm day here today, and it's Fulham 1, Everton 1 in our live and exclusive Premier League commentary on Talksport 2. Our next live football comes tonight. Notts County against Wimbledon in the first leg of that League 2 playoff semi-final. Live with us at 8 o'clock. Every playoff game will be on the Talksport network. There is a throw for Everton on the far side there right, hoisted into the penalty area, headed away by Anderson. It comes back out to the original taker Garner back to Harrison to flick the ball in with his left foot, and thundered away on the volley by Andreas Pereira up towards the halfway line. I'll give you both benches in a moment, but Fulham have won it back, and now it's 4 against 3 on the counter. Iwobi towards Wilson, stretching to clear his Mikolenko, and he was caught late by Harry Wilson, and that'll be a free kick to Everton in their left back position. The Fulham subs: Bender, Kearney, Traore, Vinicius, Cuenca, Willian, King, Diop and Godot. And for Everton, Virginia, Patterson, McNeil, Calvert-Lewin and Jai Chamiti. Armando Broja up against his old team, Coleman and Irogbenou. 27,653 here today at Craven Cottage to watch the game at this famous old ground, and it's Fulham 1, Everton 1, and not a lot has changed in terms of the pattern of play early in the second half, Perry.
Yeah, just a little bit sloppy from Alex Iwobi. He did really well initially, just picked the pocket of Jack Harrison. All he's got to do is just roll it out 25-30 yards to Fulham's right-hand side to Harry Wilson and just hits it short. That enables Mikalenko to come and just get a toe poke in.
Doucouré steered the ball out to the right, and Harrison, who had to step back to retrieve it with his left foot, now crosses with his right, and that's hit the shins of Sessegnon, and out of play for an Everton corner in front of the travelling fans away to our left. And if anything, Everton look the more likely to score. They take the corner short, delivered in by Young, and the header over the top. There was a touch there off Kenny Tete via the deflection of Beto, and Fulham suddenly feel like they're under pressure with the score at 1-1 in a game that they really need to win.
Yeah, you can bet your life at half-time that David Moyes probably, it's not going to be the hairdryer. It's a bit too hot today for the hairdryer, but have a few words in their show, like, because even there from the corner, really good play from Ashley Young and Harrison, where they just took a short corner, got the cross in nice and early. That meant Fulham couldn't get themselves set, but in the end it was a good defensive header from Anderson. Another corner for Everton, their second one of this second half on their left-hand side.
And they have got a better record away from home under David Moyes in this second spell. Ashley Young with the red boots on, delivers into the near post, and it's headed wide by Beto, who is adamant there must have been a touch off the goalkeeper, who went up for him with the header. Beto has headed it clean wide from almost on the goal line.
It's a great corner from Ashley Young, just whipping it in with his right foot. Beto getting away from his marker, and if he just gets a glancing head, he beats Berntano to the ball. I thought it was Berntano who just punched the ball and got a little glance to it. It should have been a corner, but lucky enough for Fulham, goes out for a goal kick.
Stays 1-1 on Talksport 2, and no change in the second half so far to any of the other scores in the Premier League. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1, Southampton 0, Manchester City 0, and Wolves 0, Brighton 1. Sessegnon left corner of the area, slips it forward to Iwobi, back to Sessegnon, turned away by Pickford through a crowd. Much better from Fulham. They have a corner.
Well, that was a fairy tale pass from Anderson from right to left, picking out Sessegnon, then comes into Smith Rowe, great little layoff to Sessegnon. Sessegnon just rolls it into Iwobi, who's on the underlap in that inside left position. Sessegnon gets his shot away, straight at Jordan Pickford, manages to parry it away, corner for Fulham over on their left-hand side.
Delivered in swinging by Pereira, headed away by Beto at the near post. It's come back out to Harry Wilson, time and space to flick in the cross, high towards Bassi, who nods it down, but there was a foul by Anderson in the penalty area anyway on Alcaraz, and that's a free kick to Everton away to the right inside their own box. And David Moyes out of his seat, now watching on with his arms folded on the far side touchline. Of course, Marco Silva's right at the back of the Riverside stand on the opposite side of the ground, and it's 1-1 on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games, available with no contract on now, like Bournemouth against Aston Villa, live today. Search Now Sports. Our next live Premier League game on the Talksport network is tomorrow at midday, Newcastle against Chelsea. Simply huge in the fight for Champions League football. Ashley Young steers the ball forward for Everton, but it's straight to Sander Berge, who's then slow in possession, robbed by a combination of Doucouré and Gay. And Everton charge forward with Doucouré down the right-hand side. They're the better team, 7 minutes into the second half. And Fulham have got to step it up a gear from somewhere, Perry, without their main man, Marco Silva, on the touchline.
Yeah, well, as you said, Everton are playing with a lot more verve, a lot more energy in this second half. The first 7 minutes they've been the better side. They're playing probably 10-15 yards further up the pitch. Maybe David Moyes thought they were a little bit too deep in that first half, and now we've actually got a competitive game on.
Kenny Tete's knocked a good ball down the inside right, and Wilson's in behind Mikalenko. He tried to flick it over Pickford, who makes a brilliant save, and he might have hurt himself doing so. What an impudent, audacious attempt that was by Harry Wilson, with his instep almost outside of his boot to try and loft it over Pickford, who clawed it away and has hurt his shoulder maybe on landing.
Yeah, it's a great little ball from Kenny Tete, just feeding it down that right touch line. Great run from Harry Wilson. He sees that Jordan Pickford is off his line with the outside of his left foot. He just tries to volley over the retreating Jordan Pickford, and Jordan Pickford has shown fantastic athleticism just to make sure he gets his feet sorted out, and then gets a big right palm onto the ball, and it looks like it might nestle into the far post, and it just goes agonisingly wide. I think Jordan Pickford has landed obviously on his shoulder, maybe hyper extended his shoulder blade there, but it was a fantastic save.
What a touch from Wilson, and an even better stop from the goalkeeper, who showed great athleticism and agility to just claw that away. And he is the Everton captain. They've got João Virginia warming up. Of course, Jordan Pickford is, well, he never misses a Premier League game, and Virginia has only made one Everton appearance in the Premier League as a substitute back in 2021. But Pickford is on his feet, and I think he's going to go and try and continue here. But that's easily the moment of the second half so far, Perry. 1-1.
Yeah, brilliant vision from Harry Wilson. So that all started just from a simple ball down the line from Kenny Tete. You know, nothing too over elaborate. And then Harry Wilson just looked over his left shoulder, saw that Jordan Pickford was on the edge of his 6-yard box, and just tried to sort of a volleyed lob over the top of him. Brilliant save. Corner for Fulham over on their left.
Now, will they try and whip it right underneath the crossbar and really test the England and Everton goalkeeper? They're crowding him at the moment. Anderson's nearby. Berger too. Into the near post, and Anderson headed away by Alcaraz. Good firm header away from danger. Not a good touch by Smith Rowe. Sessegnon having to retreat to retrieve it, and rolling it all the way back to Bernd Leno, who hammers it straight downfield straight away. This time Ashley Young with the headed clearance for Everton. Bright sunshine at Craven Cottage. Fulham 1, Everton 1. Is that a foul by Sander Berger on Beto? It is. And will that be the game's first yellow card? It will be. Yellow card quickly out of the pocket of referee Michael Salisbury, and it is starting to open up a little now. 10 minutes into the second period on Talksport 2, still level.
Yeah, Sander Berger knew exactly what he was doing. Beto just getting a little toe poke along that right-hand touchline for Everton. And Sander Berger knew that he was going to quell the attack, just bundles him over. Quite rightly, he gets a yellow card.
Whatever happens today, Fulham and Everton fans, 03717223344 to speak to Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy in the game day phone in at 5:30. That's over on Talksport. Make sure you download our free app, and you can swipe between all our stations at your leisure and watch live shows on the network as they happen. White and Jordan is always a favourite of mine on a Monday morning, in particular, catching up on the weekend. Free kick for Everton from the far side, the right, drifted in by Ashley Young, and Beto nearly brought that under control, and had he done so, he would have had a clear shot. Fulham got lucky, and they clear upfield through Harry Wilson. Everton quickly back to Pickford, who will hammer it high up into the bright blue sky. Kenny Tete jumping and lets it drift over his head, and beyond Alcaraz too. Fulham back to Leno, who chips the ball to the right back position, and Tete, now that's at the feet of Berger, and they can try and build again here, Fulham, from the back with Joachim Andersen. So 1-1, and it is intriguingly poised at this point as we tick towards the hour mark, and you wonder how long Marco Silva will leave it before making a change, Perry.
Yep, if you look on the bench, we've got Traore, Vinicius, who can go up front, Willian, who's obviously very good in 1v1 situations. So yeah, I just think that looking at Fulham in this second half, we're just coming up to an hour played, they've actually taken a step back, and it's Everton who have shown a lot more energy and a lot more adventurousness in their play going forward.
No sign of any imminent changes as yet, and no change to the scoreline. 1-1 at half time, and 1-1 it remains. Nearly 13 minutes into the second half. Wilson infield from the right for Fulham. He's had the best opportunity of the second half so far. Sets up Kenny Tete on the overlap. Down this near side to Fulham right, back infield to Wilson. 25 yards out, and he went for the screamer, and it's high over the bar. 10 yards over the top, and it just sails into the Hammersmith end. He looks the most likely prospect at the moment to make something happen.
Yeah, I think he just needs to calm himself down a bit again. Good link-up play with him, and Kenny Tete just rolls the ball into Harry Wilson. Just comes nearly edge of the D. To be fair to Mikalenko, does really well because he follows the run in, he slides along the floor, maybe puts him off, but just needs to calm himself down a little bit, Harry Wilson, and just execute that technique a bit better.
Still yet to see a Premier League goal in the second half of any of the 3 o'clock kickoffs so far. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1. Southampton 0, Manchester City 0, Wolves 0, Brighton 1. Bournemouth against Villa is a 5:30 start, and of course it's one apiece here at Craven Cottage. In terms of the league table, Fulham would be remaining down in 11th spot, and they would be 3 points off 8th, though they do have to play Brentford with just 2 games to go. They've got to go for the win, surely, Perry.
Yep, that's what I'm saying about Marco Silva coming up to the hour mark as a manager. His team aren't producing anything at the moment.
Raul Jimenez has produced a cross that is sliced over the top and behind, and not enough quality for Fulham at the moment.
I hope Jimenez doesn't look down at the floor as if there's a divot, because
don't pretend.
Unless it's a mole that just popped up. One of the sprinklers. You don't get divots in the pitch these days. But as I said before, as a manager, if your team isn't performing on the pitch and you're not seeing that they're being adventurous, you're not seeing that they're being positive, as a manager you have to try and then influence the game.
A tremendous noise from the Everton fans, 2,700 having a party in the away section at the moment. Dwight McNeil's about to come on, and Everton are on the attack with Beto inside left, and the cross is cut out by Leno before it could reach Abdoulaye Doucouré. So 1-1 on Talksport 2. We have got half an hour to go.
Well, the game's really opened up. Brilliant ball from Jared Branthwaite, just releasing Beto in the inside left position. Couldn't quite get his cross across that 6-yard box with Doucouré coming in. Good save from Bernd Leno.
This one could go either way. Calvin Bassey to Iwobi out on the left for Fulham. He's delivered it in right-footed, and Wilson's flicked header is over the top. Met it on the edge of the 6-yard box, but couldn't direct it low. Here come the Everton changes. There are 2. And the first sees Doucouré leave the field, and here comes Njai, and it's Dwight McNeil for Harrison. And Dwight McNeil is only recently back from injury, Perry.
Yep, obviously he got his goal last week. Then just be like for like, Dwight McNeil will come probably, looks like on that right-hand side. Alcaraz will go into the number 10 position, and Njai on the left for Everton. And Njai is very, very good in 1v1 situations. So there'll be a nice little battle that I think we'll see on this left-hand side right up against Kenny Tete.
That's the diminutive Njai with his socks rolled all the way down to his ankles. He's onto the field. Fulham 1, Everton 1. Over an hour gone, and Everton playing maybe without the pressure that Fulham have gone. It's been pumped back to the goalkeeper by Berger. They're going to get Adama Traore on shortly, I wonder, Fulham. And that will be their first change. Fulham 1, Everton 1 on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whether you're on holiday at home or away this summer, Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that's just right for you.
What Everton done better in this second half. We said about Pereira and Emil Smith-Rowe playing in the 2-10 positions. Garner's picking up Pereira. Gay has gone on to Emil Smith-Rowe, and Fulham haven't had then any passing movement in Everton's defensive third.
All a bit tepid for Fulham, bar the Harry Wilson chance that forced a brilliant save from Pickford. Sessegnon. The ball was fizzed into his feet on the corner of the penalty area. Michael Keane able to clear. Now Dwight McNeil, first touches in the game. Forward pass to Beto on halfway. Blocked off by Bassey, but seized upon by Doucouré, who tried to rattle it forward towards Alcaraz. There was a handball in there. Referee plays the advantage because Fulham have it anyway. Pereira onto Smith-Rowe. Escapes the attentions of Young. Fouled right in front of the referee. Free kick to Fulham. I don't think it'll be a yellow card. And are Fulham going to take the chance to make the change, I wonder?
Yeah, well, it was very shrewd from Ashley Young, because Emil Smith-Rowe did brilliantly just getting onto his right foot, coming inside him. Again, Ashley Young knows if he makes the foul, it just negates the attacking motion. That'll be Emil Smith-Rowe's last involvement for Fulham in the second half.
Off he goes, and here comes Adama Traore with all of the pace, power and trickery that he possesses. St Johnstone 2, Ross County 1 in the battle of the bottom 2 in the Scottish Premiership. And St Johnstone, if they were to lose today, they'd be down, but they lead Ross County by 2-1. And Fulham seeking to go 2-1 up here. Where will the goal come from? Raul Jimenez, Harry Wilson, Traore, who's just come on. We'll see. Or can Everton pinch the points themselves? The Everton fans have been in constant voice. The atmosphere at Goodison next week is going to be incredible. Free kick drifted in by Wilson for Fulham. Left to right towards the near side. There was a foul by Raul Jimenez. That last ever game at Goodison Park is at home to Southampton. 133 years of great history. And Everton fans will commemorate it, I'm sure, in the best and most passionate way possible. Iliman and Jai for Everton, midway inside Fulham territory. There was a foul on Alcaraz, but play continues with the advantage. McNeil has pushed it up the inside right. Beto crosses, only half away. Alcaraz still isn't back on the pitch yet. He sort of limps back on. Then Jimenez is fouled by Branthwaite in the centre circle. Free kick to Fulham. The challenges are coming in. It's quite lively. The crowd are getting involved, but we're still not seeing that ultimate bit of quality 19 minutes into the second half, Perry
And
Groves.
the reason you can hear the frustration of the Fulham fans is because Everton have been more aggressive in this second half. They've been the ones who have looked to get the ball forward very quickly, get it into Beto. When they got it out to him on the right hand side there, it was just a poor quality cross where he should be whiffing it across the 6-yard box. From Fulham's point of view, Harry Wilson will go and play in one of the 10 positions, and then obviously Adama Traore will come and play on this right hand side 1v1 up against Mikalenko.
Here is Sessegnon, infield to Berger, midway inside Everton territory, back out wide to the base of the Riverside stand, and Alex Iwobi. Now Berger again in the middle of Everton territory once more. They've lost 5 of their last 7 in all competitions, Fulham, if you include the FA Cup defeat in the quarter-final here to Crystal Palace. Traore, shirt tucked in, first real touches, back to Tete, and now Berger just forward of the centre circle, all a bit sideways and backwards for Fulham here. 20 minutes into the second half, and Iwobi's taking on McNeil. Left corner of the penalty area, goes on the outside, then looks to reach the dead ball line, hoists in a deep cross to the back post, headed away by Mikalenko in front of Traore, who did well to make Mikalenko make the header, otherwise it would have gone out for a goal kick. It's a Fulham throw.
And there's good play from Alex Iwobi initially, just going on the outside of Dwight McNeil, getting his cross in. You said there, good defending from Mikalenko on the far post.
Tete thought about crossing early, hugging this right-hand touchline. Now he shuffles infield instead. Plays a 20-yard ball into the middle, and Bassi. Everybody inside the Everton half bar the Fulham goalkeeper Bernd Leno. It's 1-1. Iwobi cuts it back to Pereira. Now he threads it on to Sessegnon, who crosses, veered away only as far as Pereira, who couldn't get it under control. If he had done, he would have had a free shot, and then a poor header by Anderson for Fulham. It's bouncing around on the halfway line, and Everton have won it back with Beto, who has committed a foul. It's quite scrappy at the moment, but the game is there for someone, and Fulham very nearly put a good attacking move together.
Yeah, really good play on their left-hand side from Fulham. Just seeing the free kick against Beto, just a flailing arm on Sander Berger. But I actually thought when it came into Pereira, when he was in that inside left position on the edge of the 18-yard box, he just tried to roll another way, rolled another ball up into Sessegnon. I think he can take a touch, get it out of his feet and get his shot away. Maybe it's just taken that one pass too many, but that was Fulham's best passing move in this second half.
Celtic 3, Hibs 1, Dundee United 0, St Mirren 2. Both latest scores from the Scottish Premiership. In the Premier League, it's unchanged in the second half. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1, Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. The Saints heading for 12 points, and Wolves 0, Brighton 1. Bournemouth against Villa at 5:30. Fulham are going to stay 11th, and they will lose ground in the race for European football again if it stays 1-1 with Everton. Early ball by Sessegnon down the left. He sets up Iwobi. Sessegnon's come forward on the underlap. Iwobi cuts it back to the edge of the area. Pereira urged to shoot by some of the fans around us. They're packed around us here in the Johnny Haynes stand. Iwobi by the corner flag, onto Sessegnon, back to goal, very tight area by the dead ball line, rolls it back to Andreas Pereira, who takes maybe one touch too many, back out to the left, and Iwobi again, early ball to Wilson. He can't really get it under control with his back to goal. They looked a bit out of ideas there, Fulham. And now Everton breaking as we head towards the final quarter of the game, and Dwight McNeil has escaped Pereira, raiding down the right-hand side. He squeezed the ball through the middle. It took a deflection off Berger, and it's hammered away downfield up to the midway point of the Everton half by Joachim Andersen.
I'm just looking at Raul Jimenez. You're a centre forward, and Fulham have got good possession on their left-hand side. You would be screaming, whether it's onto Alex Iwobi or to Sessegnon or to Pereira, of when are you going to get the ball into the box? It's just too over-elaborate, taking too many passes. Again, you could hear the frustration of the Fulham crowd, because Fulham actually had 4 in the 18-yard box. To just, sometimes football's very simple, just get it out your feet and then put it into the box, and then you make Keane and Branthwaite and Pickford make a decision. but they were just very comfortable, Joe, because everything was in front of them. They could see all the passing movements. There was no threat in behind and no crosses coming in.
And now there's a threat at the other end for Everton. Beto looking to cut the ball down the inside right with a reverse ball, and it's smuggled behind. Good work by Alcaraz to force the corner. Fulham not happy because Sessegnon has ended up being knocked into the electronic advertising hoarding, but it will be an Everton corner, Perry.
Yeah, good link-up play on that left-hand side, Ted. Alcaraz just making sure that he eases Sessegnon off the ball, takes a little deflection, goes for a corner for Everton on their right-hand side. Looks like Dwight McNeil will be the one who's just going to swing it in with his left foot.
Well, Everton look a real threat to Fulham here and their hopes of European football. As Sessegnon is on his feet, there were words between him, Alcaraz and the referee, but it will certainly be an Everton corner whatever happens, and they're bouncing behind the goal, the Everton fans. 2,700 are enjoying the atmosphere in the sun.
Well, they've enjoyed the way their team has played in this second half, because you'd have thought that it was Everton that needed to win the game and not Fulham, because they're the ones that have been the aggressors. Obviously there's a corner now for Everton in front of their own fans over in the far left-hand corner.
McNeil, one arm up into the air, swings in the delivery, it's dangerous, and headed in by Michael Keane! It's set-piece success for Everton! What a delivery from Dwight McNeil, right underneath the crossbar, and the man who's almost been forgotten, Michael Keane, there to thump home a header, and there's big trouble for Fulham in the race for Europe now. It's Fulham 1, Everton 2.
Well, Keane says there's nothing in my way, and he just makes sure he gets everybody out of his path. Jarrad Branthwaite went over to Dwight McNeil and he would have said to him, I want you to whip this ball to the far post, and it's exactly what he did, because he knew that Keane and Branthwaite had an overload. Michael Keane rises at the far post, loses marker, he's unmarked completely. Fantastic goal from Everton's point of view, really, really sloppy from Fulham's point of view, and it's Pereira who loses his marker. Again, it's a complete mismatch, and that's what Jarrad Branthwaite would have said to Dwight McNeil. By the way, there's a mismatch on the far post. He delivered the right corner, brilliant header from Michael Keane to put Everton 2-1 up.
Well, Pereira arguably lacks for both goals. Dwight McNeil couldn't miss, and the thumping header at that end from Raul Jimenez in the first half feels a long time ago now. It's 2-1 to Everton, although the goal is being checked for a possible foul. VAR is checking, so maybe Everton don't lead 2-1. We'll have to see that again on the monitor that we've got, Perry, in the commentary position here. But was there a foul?
Are they saying that Michael Keane has fouled Pereira? Or are they looking for handball? Tell me they're not looking for handball.
Well, it's possible foul and now possible offside. Is there somebody in front of the goalkeeper who could be influencing Leno's position?
You've got Ryan Sessegnon who's at the far post. Nobody's in Bernd Leno's eye line at all.
Alcaraz is nearby, but he's not putting off the goalkeeper there, is he?
He's to the left of Bernd Leno.
And confirmation that they've moved on from a possible foul to a possible offside. Michael Keane thinks he's put Everton into the lead. But has he?
But it's from the corner, right? So they're looking, when Michael Keane heads the ball, they're looking at Alcaraz.
Is there any issue with Alcaraz near Leno? That must be the only thing that I could possibly think of.
But he's not in Leno's eye line. Bernd Leno hasn't gone mad, is it, the referee, as if to say there's someone who's impeding me, who's standing in front of me. I can't see from the angles that we've got.
Oh no, is Alcaraz impeding the goalkeeper in any way there, Perry, as he tries to scamper across? Is Alcaraz backing into the goalkeeper?
No.
Is that what they're checking?
Bernd Leno's got to be a lot stronger.
Goal given. 2-1 to Everton with just 18 minutes to go. And in the end, they were looking for offside against Alcaraz. I don't get it, Perry. I don't get it.
This is...
Are they trying to find reasons to rule goals out sometimes?
This is CSI Stockley Park. Honestly, they're looking... I think they're spooked. I think they're so worried that they might have missed something, but they're trying to look something that isn't there.
Yeah.
It's not there. We're looking at the goal. Do you know who gives it away? If you watch football and you play football, the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper doesn't go running to Darren England and say, I've been, you know what I mean, and loses his mind.
Yeah.
I've been fouled. He knows that he hasn't been strong enough. Alcaraz has been very clever, just getting his way. Quite rightly, the goal was given.
Hearts 3, Motherwell 0. Everton on the attack, leading 2-1. Beto clear through the middle with an early shot. Oh, and it's squeezed through the goalkeeper and in! Through the hands of Bernd Leno. 2 goals goals in 2 minutes for Everton, and Beto can hardly believe it. He took it so early on the angle, and it just went through Leno. Butterfingers from the goalkeeper. He couldn't keep it out. He's most certainly at fault. And is there no way back for Fulham now? It is Fulham 1, Everton 3.
Well, that wasn't Bernd Leno, that was more like Jay Leno in goal, honestly, because that is such a bad mistake from Bernd Leno, because as it's come from Beto has opened his body out with his right foot. We're right behind it, Joe. We can see what he's trying to do is bend it around Bernd Leno into his left-hand corner. It's actually come straight to Bernd Leno, and it looks like it's gone underneath his hands and nestled in the back of the net. It's just shocking play from Fulham all round. Sander Berge loses the ball on the halfway line, and then just goes down as a pure goalkeeping error because it goes underneath him.
Well, you'll get another look at it again, Perry. Fulham have made a double change. Willian and Kearney have come onto the field, and it's the most basic goalkeeping error you can imagine. Off go Pereira and Wilson. Pereira not a favourite at Craven Cottage at the moment. And there was a fan right behind us who got up and left immediately after that goal went in. I don't think he's the only Fulham fan to be heading for the exits with still 15 minutes to go, but Everton are 3-1 up in a game realistically that Fulham have got to win if they're to have any hope of European football next season, but they can't afford a clanger like that from their goalkeeper. And it's ironic, Perry, because you and I before the game were saying he only maybe makes one of those a season. He's one of the most consistent in the Premier League, but what's that? Is that just a lack of concentration?
Well, the first one you could say that he's a mistake because he gets too involved with Alcaraz, where he sort of stumbles, and it's a brilliant header from Michael Keane. The second one definitely goes down as a goalkeeping error because he's got to get both of his hands further away from his body, and then it sort of goes over the top of his hands, nestles in the back of the net. And you have to say Everton have been the better side in this second half. And you said about the fan that's leaving earlier, I can guarantee you it's a Fulham fan, they're not going to be travelling around Europe.
Well, they'd be 4 points off 8th spot as it stands because Brentford are winning, so too are Brighton and Hove Albion. They'd be 4 points off with just 2 games to play, and yes, one of those games to try and reach 8th place is against Brentford next week, but then it's Manchester City at home on the last day, so it feels like this is the end of Fulham's aspirations to reach European football. And it really is a party for the Everton fans. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1, Southampton 0, Manchester City 0, Wolves 0, Brighton 1, and 3-1 to Everton here with 14 minutes left. And Fulham look like they've got no response. In fact, they look like they're collapsing now, unless something changes very rapidly. Iwobi's played it back to Tete in the right-back area. They've not really looked convincing since about the half-hour mark, Fulham, Perry.
No, they've been very sloppy. Say their energy levels have dropped. Everton's energy levels have gone up. We say they're well worth this 3-1 lead, and that actually sort of summed Fulham up in this second half because the third goal from Beto comes from Fulham's kickoff, where Sander Berge loses the ball on the halfway line.
Traore going on the outside right away from Mikalenko and whipping in a good cross. Jimenez heads it down, and it's a yard or so wide. Better from Fulham, but it feels like they've left it too late. Fulham 1, Everton 3 of the latest odds. As one of the Everton players goes down, I think it's Keane. William Hill has the latest odds, our official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage. Right now, a Fulham comeback at 45-1, the draw at 11-1, and Everton win 1-14 on. Alex Iwobi to have over one shot on target, 11-4. At the moment, that is all thanks to William Hill. 18plus gambleaware.org. It looks like 6 defeats and 8 in all competitions for Fulham. And you can have your say on the game day phone in from 5:30 over on Talksport with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. 03717 223344. And at 8 o'clock here on Talksport 2, we've got Notts County against Wimbledon in the first leg of that League 2 playoff semi-final. Chesterfield Walsall and Wycombe Charlton tomorrow in the playoffs on Talksport 2. Newcastle Chelsea on Talksport at noon. And Fulham 3-1 down. 12 minutes plus added time to go. Tete clears downfield. Do they look like they believe they can get back into it here? Flick by Traore, and then Raul Jimenez nudges it wide to Iwobi on the right. Little 1-2 with Traore. Not a good layoff by Traore. That allowed Branthwaite to slide in and make the interception. Keane, by the way, back on his feet again for Everton. And there's a tangle of legs. Branthwaite has fouled Iwobi, and that's a free kick.
Just looking at Jarrad Branthwaite, I know he had a big influence, obviously, in Everton's second goal when he went over to Dwight McNeil to tell him where to do the corner. I can't remember him making a mistake in this game, what we've seen here. His positional play's been excellent. He's gone zonal across the 6-yard box when Everton had to defend corners. In possession, he's been very good when the ball has come into Jimenez up front. He's made sure that he's tried to nick it in front of him. Just been a very assured display from Jarrad Branthwaite.
Holding a high defensive line here. Everton leading 3-1 live on Talksport 2. Willian with the right wing free kick. Terrible. Cleared away, and now Willian's in a foot race with Alcaraz to make sure that he doesn't beat him to the loose ball. Goes back to Leno. And here is Sessegnon in the left back area. Fulham totally wasted that free kick. Sums up the day for Fulham. Iwobi's given it straight to Ashley Young, and it looked as though it was going so well at one stage. Tom Kearney, the sub, can't win it back against Alcaraz, who's been excellent in the second half, and you can see no way back for Fulham, Perry. The way the game is, realistically they need 3 goals in the last 11 minutes.
Yeah, well, the Fulham players haven't played with any energy in this second half, and all the energy has been sucked out of the Fulham fans, because they're looking at it thinking, after that first 25 minutes, how have we found ourselves 3-1 down? It's very simple that one team has wanted it more in the second half of the other, and that has been Everton. So you can bet your life that David Moyes has, had a few words in their shell like at half time, because they've come out in this second half a completely different team.
Penny for the thoughts of Marco Silva watching up in the stands as Mikalenko can't keep the ball in play. It's a Fulham goal kick, and there are just 10 minutes plus added time to go now. And in fairness, the fan who I thought had got up to go, Perry, behind us, he's returned to his seat. So it was just a quick break, but they are 3-1 down, so maybe there's still some optimism, but
it's not too late for you to make your amends.
Yeah, well, that's what I have just done. I'm just hoping nobody around him heard me saying it in the first place. Hopefully not. They're a nice bunch here, the Fulham fans, who are literally in the row of seats behind us, these old wooden seats. Fulham with Berger, 3-1 down, midway inside the Everton half. Back to Willian. If things are going to change, they've got to change here and now for Fulham. I haven't seen many goals in the Premier League today. It's as you were elsewhere. Dundee have equalised at Kilmarnock. That is 1-1. I'll remind you of the latest Premier League scores in a moment. Kearney's delivery high to the back post, and it's over the head of Alex Iwobi. Kenny Tete will keep it in play, down by the corner flag, and he whips in a good cross. That's nodded clear this time. It's all forcing Fulham wide, really, from Everton at the moment, compressing the middle of the pitch, and Fulham having to look aerially. Tete delivers again with an in-swinging cross, and that's headed away by Michael Keane. It's dropped to Bassi to Anderson, midway inside the Everton half, but they don't look like they have many ideas at the moment, Fulham. Sander Berger's cross this time, and again Keane is there. You back Everton every time, Perry, a ball goes into the box.
Well, the thing is, it's the angle that they're crossing the ball from, because there's not enough width. And coming in Kenny Tete, who's inside the width of the 18-yard box. So, same on the left-hand side with Sessegnon, so they need to get a little bit more natural width and tell Traore to get further out on this right-hand side, get his heels on the touchline, and Sessegnon out on the left-hand side, because Iwobi's come a bit more central now. Willian is sort of drifting in the central area. Tom Kearney's dropping a little bit deeper to get himself on the ball. So it's all too congested from Fulham's point of view.
And it's Brentford and Brighton leading the way in the race for 8th spot at the moment. Fulham are going to make a couple of changes. Off goes Ryan Sessegnon, and stripped and ready to come on the near side of the field is Marcel Godot, who is making just his 6th career appearance for Fulham now. The other change sees Sander Berger, not as effective as usual today, go off, and it's another youngster, Josh King, who comes on. His 9th Fulham appearance. So 2 inexperienced young players on for the final minutes here. 7.5 plus added time to go on Talksport 2. And Everton are 3-1 up. Free kick to Fulham delivered in by Tom Kearney, and the flick by Beto will send the ball spiralling towards the near side and out of play for a throw down by the corner flag.
So obviously it'll just be Everton now defending this 3-1 lead that they have. Ball's coming into the box. Branthwaite and Keane have been outstanding. Beto there was just back helping out his back four.
Everton making a change as well. Off goes Alcaraz and on comes Tim Irogbanan.
Oh, do they need to bring him on?
Well, he is now a former Aston Villa man. Onto the field, missed a lot of football this season because of a foot injury. Alcaraz gets a rapturous ovation from the Everton fans. He's helped to change this game in their favour. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1. Still Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. Wolves 0, Brighton 1. And Bournemouth against Aston Villa is at 5:30. So Brentford and Brighton level on points, 8th and 9th. Bournemouth can retake 8th place if they beat Villa at 5:30. Fulham are now way behind. 51 points, 4 off 8 spots. And their hopes are slipping away. 11th position they will stay in. Josh King for Fulham, middle of the Everton half. What can he bring into the game, the teenager, as it goes back to Anderson, delivers an early ball right-footed, and it doesn't seem like Fulham have got any idea really other than to hit and hope, cross it into the box and hope someone gets a touch, but Everton are dominant at the moment in that area. And Godot has committed a foul, and it's a free kick to Everton in their right-back position. There's only 5.5 minutes left, and now Fulham fans are getting up, and now the guy behind us I think has headed off.
Well, the thing is, sometimes obviously, you know, we criticise fans for leaving early because your team needs their support, but I think these Fulham fans look at this game and actually looking at it thinking, we've got no answers. There's nothing coming whatsoever. Obviously Godot and King have come on, young players with energy, fresh legs, but they need the energy and they need the fresh legs, but they need that little bit of quality, and Fulham have had none of those qualities in this second half. Marco Silva, I think his interview will be really interesting after the game, because this is probably one of the worst second halves that I think he's probably seen from his team here at Craven Cottage this season. And they did very much the same against Chelsea, when Chelsea were 1-0 up, playing very, very well, went passive in the second half. Exactly. So there's no one showing any leadership qualities, nobody getting themselves on the ball.
Everton up to 13th in the Premier League. Kilmarnock 2, Dundee 1. Dundee were not level for long. Branthwaite with a slightly awkward back pass for Pickford, but his clearance is okay. It's high up into the air towards halfway and away from danger. Fulham 1, Everton 3. 4.5 minutes plus added time to go. Foul by Tete on Njai. Doesn't seem to be any belief in this Fulham team that they can rescue anything late on here, and even a point would be improbable at this stage. They've just fallen away, haven't they, Perry? It seems that there was that win over Liverpool, they got the last minute win at Southampton, but they've just fallen away in these last few weeks of the season, as Beto looks to get on the end of a high ball downfield. That's through to Leno, but they've just not had enough, have they, in the league and in the FA Cup as well?
Well, I think the FA Cup defeat has had quite a big effect on the team psychologically, because obviously everything was on the up from Fulham up until then, and got soundly beaten by Crystal Palace again after starting the game really well in the first 25 minutes. It seems to be like a recurring theme that Fulham can't keep that intense in that place up, not for a whole game, even for a whole half, and that allows the team to get themselves back into the game. And that's what's happened here today, because obviously Everton equalised against run of play from Mikalenko bang on the stroke of half time, but ever since then it's been all Everton, apart from now when obviously they're dropping deep because they're just trying to hold on to this 3-1 lead.
Godot out on the Fulham left, runs into Idrissa Gueye, who just hooks it out of play. Fulham throw close to the corner flag, but they are 3-1 down. An increasing number of fans now heading out of Craven Cottage. 3 minutes to go, plus whatever's added at the end of it. Godot plays the ball back to the curly-haired Willian. Willian darting infield from the left onto the right foot. That's a nice cross. King swung at it, took a big swing, and that was a high boot. And Everton have a free kick. Well, they have had to work it wide, swing in hopeful crosses. There's been no play through the middle for Fulham. For that, do you give a lot of credit to David Moyes?
Yeah, I think he set his team better up in the second half. I mentioned about Gueye and Garner. Obviously, in the first half, Fulham were causing a few problems with Smith Rowe and Pereira obviously playing as the 2-10s. That gave Everton a few problems. He addressed that at half-time. And I just think, again, football, we have all the analysts with their algorithms, their logarithms, to make it very scientific. In the end, football is very, very simple. You win your 50-50 duels and your battles with your opponent, and you show a bit of aggression, which Everton had, then you hope that you can find that bit of quality. And for the second half, that quality came from Dwight McNeil from the corner, where he put it exactly where Brownthwaite said.
Well, Goddo's in behind here, and he's cut it back to Raul Jimenez. What an interception on the slide that is by Irobanam in the middle of midfield. First real touch for him. What a tackle, as Raul Jimenez was ready to strike that first time right-footed. Goddo marauding infield, 90 seconds of normal time to go. 3-1 to Everton on Talksport 2. Out on the right for Fulham is Traoré. King on the underlap, fizzes across in, and it evades everybody. Bassi will do well to keep that in on the opposite touchline. He actually has done.
That's actually a brilliant ball in from King from this right-hand side, and it just...
Bassi delivers again. King can't reach it, and Everton clear for the umpteenth time from a Fulham cross in this second half. There is a minute left, and Everton are nearly there.
But just saying, it was a really, really good delivery from King. This right-hand side just ripped the ball across the 18-yard box, and it was Goddo on the far post didn't attack the ball. You have to make sure when the ball's coming in that you attack it, and the ball just fizzed across him, and Willian, who's on that left-hand side as well, and basically just went out of play.
Wolves 0, Brighton 2. Brian Gruder has got a second for Brighton and Hove Albion, so in the context of the race for 8th spot, as Seamus Coleman and Dominic Calvert-Lewin get ready to come on for Everton, it's Beto who's going off first of all. So they might not see that much more of Calvert-Lewin at Everton, you wouldn't think, given his injury record, unfortunately. But off goes Beto, who got the third and clinching goal. That really was a sucker punch for Fulham. And Idrissa Gueye also being replaced. Coleman coming on for the last few minutes just to shore up that back line. So Brentford, 7 minutes of added time here. Brentford up into 8th on 55 points. Brighton behind them on goal difference. Bournemouth in 10th on 53, but their game in hand is at 5:30 against Villa. And Fulham back in 11th, 4 points off 8th spot. So 7 added minutes. Not, well, I suppose there was the VAR check, wasn't there? And we've had the changes. But you can't see Fulham scoring in injury time, Terry.
Well, the only way you'd see Fulham scoring is if they actually believed it themselves, and they don't. All that belief has just been sucked out of them. You didn't even hear a rousing. Normally, you get a long sort of added on time. You get a big roar from the crowd. There was nothing, was there? There was like, okay, it's 7 minutes, so it's going to be 3-1. I'd rather that Darren England referee blew the whistle now, so we can get ourselves in the pub.
Well, the ball's actually hit the referee, and Fulham have got it on the halfway line, just as they look like they might be making a promising break down the right. A minute with the 7 added. Fulham 1, Everton 3. That's an early ball by Tete down the right, and it's King battling to win it back for Fulham on the near side touchline, but he's lost out to Garner. Early ball towards halfway. Joachim Andersen gets there in front of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Talk Sport for the game day phone in at 5:30. 03717 223344 if you're a Fulham fan leaving Craven Cottage or an Everton fan in jubilation and you want to have your say. The ball is dinked into the Everton penalty area. Kearney down by the dead ball line. He's rolled it back behind Iwobi. Iwobi will keep it in play. Goddo down by the left corner of the penalty area. Infield to Kearney. Back to Goddo. Dead ball line. Tries a cross. Double deflection on it. That must be a goal kick. And it is. And Everton have nearly seen through 2 of the 7 added.
Yeah, really good defensive play for him. Robenham just make sure he stays with his run-up as Goddo tries to get himself to the byline. Good little link-up play with Tom Kearney. But again, it's the Everton defenders and midfield players putting their body on the line, getting themselves to the ball, just making sure that they're running after every lost cause.
Well, they're being told that Putney Bridge station is closed, which is less good news for the Fulham fans heading home after the game. Nothing on the district line. Forward by Garner downfield. We're in the 3rd minute of 7 added at the end of the game, and it's 3-1 to Everton. Leno comes out to collect, and it was Leno's error, Perry, from Beto's shot that really killed this game.
Yeah, I think even from the corner as well, where he gets himself involved with Alcaraz, where he should be getting out of the way. Where obviously VAR said if they could pick up something which wasn't there, and in the end, it's a towering header from Michael Keane at the far post. And then from Fulham's kick-off, Sonnenberger loses the ball on the touchline. then it's a great little ball from Alcaraz into Beto, and Beto, it should be a simple save from Leno, because say he's gone down to his left hand side, ball bouncing over both of his hands, just really sloppy goalkeeping. And that's in the end, those two mistakes have cost Fulham the game because of the conceded goals, but I think it's the attitude of the Fulham players that have cost them the game in the second half.
King with his back to goal, looking to spin and turn and shoot. That's turned away by Garner. Now Kearney on the volley slices that right up into the air, and you wouldn't even call it a save really for Pickford. It's the simplest of just catches halfway through added time, and Everton 3-1 ahead.
Well, Jordan Pickford's had his part to play as well, because the world-class
very
save
true from Harry Wilson.
When he just run down that inside right position with the sort of lob volley with the outside of his left foot. Brilliant save from Jordan Pickford, kept it at 1-1.
You're absolutely right, that was a magnificent save, and had Fulham scored at that point, it could all look very different for them, but they're seeing their European hopes probably come to an end here. It's still Ipswich 0, Brentford 1, Wolves 0, Brighton 2, and Southampton about to move to 12 points. Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. Unless there's a very late goal there.
I can hear the engines of the open top bus starting already. Down just round St Mary's.
They'll finally beat Derby's record. King for Fulham, finding Iwobi, left edge of the penalty area, good tackle by Arogbanan. With 2.5 minutes of added time to go, can Everton out of fourth here? McNeil darting through the middle, he's forward of the centre circle, locked the ball straight down the middle, but in giant Calvert-Lewin had peeled away left and right, so couldn't get to it. There are some hopeful Fulham fans still urging them forward, but this game has really felt done with 16 minutes to go. And Beto's efforts squirmed through Leno. Goddo looked bright since coming on. Couple of step overs into the box, he goes down wanting a penalty, that actually quickly gets up, to be fair to him. I think he knew it was a good challenge, and Seamus Coleman has come away with it for Everton. McNeil prodding the ball down the right, that's out of play. 2 minutes to go now, and there are quite a lot of empty seats here at Craven Cottage at the end of a game that started well for Fulham, Perry Groves, but they've just faded really ever since scoring the opening goal.
But that's why we love football, not just because in the season, things can change, and week to week. In games, from half to half they can change, because you'd have said after the 17th minute when Jimenez scored for Fulham that Everton would win this game 3-1 and be quite comfortable. You'd have thought that he was mad. It just shows the way it can change.
They're on the hunt for more here, Everton. Ashley Young with a 3-on-2, pokes it on to Dominic Calvert-Lewin from the angle, and Leno makes the save. Calvert-Lewin was actually offside anyway, and he's given the ball away from the throw, the goalkeeper, to add insult to injury. Not his finest afternoon. Well, certainly finest half of football for Bernd Leno.
Well, actually, I think it's your fault, Joe, to be fair, because you were saying that
how consistent he was.
Very rarely make any mistakes.
Well, Pickford's been very good today.
Yeah, well, Chris has got away one as well, because obviously he said that there are going to be goals in this game, so he hasn't put the curse on it, but you put the curse on Bernd Leno.
We've had 4 goals, and 3 of them have gone to Everton. Brentford have beaten Ipswich. Chris will give you all the full-time scores, I'm sure, in a moment. Ipswich 0, Brentford 1. Marco Silva, he's taken out his earphones now. Perry watching on from the Riverside stand. He knows the game is done with only 35 seconds to go, and it's probably the end of Fulham's season, really, in terms of something to play for, even though they've got Brentford next week. Remember, Brighton are involved in the race for Europe, and Bournemouth as well. They've got too much work to do.
It's the 3 teams now. It was 4, wasn't it, before the fixtures of today. Now it's going down to
Traore in behind Mikalenko, right hand edge of the penalty area, just seconds left, and Traore wants handball off Mikalenko. Corner, says the referee. Fulham fans not happy, they'll barely have enough time to take the corner, and 3-1 down Fulham.
There's Adama Traore just trying to go on the outside of Mikalenko, getting his cross in. He's actually hit his hand, and Mikalenko's arm is away from his body, but that'll go down to close proximity and natural position.
Well, the referee, the camera's certainly on him. I think he was in communication with the VAR. Willian looks like he's still waiting to get the go-ahead to take the corner. And VAR is checking for a possible penalty. Even if Fulham were to score it, they'd probably have only seconds to be able to take it, and then maybe have one last attack. But the VAR is checking. What do you think, Perry? Which way is it going to go?
The thing is, you don't know, because I said close proximity. What is Mikalenko supposed to do with his arm? Because if he puts his left arm behind his back, that's an unnatural position. All he's trying to do is go and close the ball. He's made his body bigger, and it's hit his left forearm, but as a football decision, anybody who's plays football would say that's not a penalty.
I think he's given the corner here, the referee, when he's stepping back towards the edge of the penalty area. Maybe the decision's still being checked, and he's still explaining what's going on, the referee, to Tom Kenny. Well, he's going to check the monitor.
That's a
so it probably will be a penalty then, after all, to Fulham. A penalty that almost feels irrelevant because it might end up being the last kick of the game anyway.
Well, he's going to give a penalty because Michael Salisbury, the VAR, has asked Darren England to go and have a look at it. But I don't see what Mikalenko is supposed to do with his arm. Because if he pulls it back into his body,
that's unnatural.
That is unnatural. And if it goes behind his back, that is unnatural. It's probably, a yard and a half away. He hasn't made two movements to make his body bigger. It's a flailing left arm, which is hit. If we went back to the good old days when it was deliberate handball, that is never ever given a penalty, but it's going to be given now.
Well, the referee's watching it again and again and again, having been told that it's a clear and obvious error. So we'll see what he does.
He doesn't need to see any other angles. He's seen the same angles as us. He only needs to see the one angle, whether he thinks it's a penalty or not.
Well, it's finished as Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. So the Saints have marched up to 12 points, Perry. We know that.
They are marching on as we speak.
They are not the joint worst team in Premier League history. That might always remain Derby County. And still the referee checks this VAR penalty check. He's still looking at the monitor. Now he's made his decision. So what's he going to do? No penalty. No penalty in the end. That is a rare thing.
You know what? Big up Darren England.
David Moyes is applauding him.
Because as a football decision, David Moyes can't believe it himself. He can't believe it. He's talking to Sam Allison, the fourth official. Big up Darren England, because Michael Salisbury has said to him, there's something that you haven't seen. Maybe go and have a look at it, all right, see a different angle. I said, as a football decision, I don't think that's a penalty. And Darren England, well done. Well done, Darren England.
You did not see that very often. The decision not reversed. It's a corner to Fulham, taken by Willian Anderson with a looping header. That's gathered by Pickford. And the next whistle will probably be the last. Well, David Moyes had his arms above his head as he applauded the referee there.
And that was a natural position.
You don't have to go and change the decision if you don't think your original one was wrong. And that is the end of the game, and Everton have really hurt, in fact probably ended Fulham's chances of European football. There are boos at the end from some of the home supporters. A very disappointing second half in particular for Marco Silva's team, but great credit to Everton, who came into the game with what many felt was nothing to play for, but produced a tremendous recovery after going 1-0 down to Raul Jimenez's 17th minute opener. Vitaly Mikalenko's deflected shot saw them equalise just before half time, and though Jordan Pickford had to make a brilliant save at 1-1 to claw away Harry Wilson's effort, really the second half belonged to Everton. Michael Keane with a header from a corner to put them in front, followed almost immediately by Beto's shot that squirmed through Bernd Leno, and with 16 minutes left that really ended any Fulham hopes of a recovery. It has finished here with Fulham languishing in 11th place and unlikely now to make Europe. Fulham 1, Everton 3.
With a big up for Darren England from Perry Groves. That's the best bit of analysis I've had all season. Perry, Jekyll and Hyde from Fulham. It's the most goals Everton have scored in a game since February the 1st, and it's a victory that lifts them above Wolves into 13th in the Premier League. We have to say it does now feel like Fulham are probably going to miss out on Europe with only 2 games left for them to play. We are short of time, got to get to the rugby league, so time for us to pick a man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the Match on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whether you're on holiday, at home or away this summer, Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that's just right for you.
Well, Perry, pre-match we talked about Michael Keane, and he was a defender that you say, he's got a bit of a rick in him. Well, he stepped up today. I wonder if he's on your shortlist for the man of the match.
Can I give it to the referee?
Big up Darren England.
Because he deserves a mention in dispatches, and you took the words right out of my mouth, as Meatloaf once said, because this was a half and half game for Everton, half and half team. First half, not very good, lucky to get there, equaliser from Mikalenko. Second half, excellent, aggressive. And the two standout players I thought for Everton were Michael Keane and Jared Braithwaite. Jordan Pickford pulled off a world-class save from Harry Wilson at 1-1. But, as you said, I was a bit sceptical about Michael Keane before the game. He gets a towering header at the far post, brilliant delivery from Dwight McNeil, and it was Jared Braithwaite who told him actually where to put it. So the two centre-halves are involved in the goal. So I'm going to give it to Michael Keane.
Michael Keane is our man of the match today with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.